Hello, everybody. Welcome back one last time for this season. We are here. It's the Rewinds Rewind episode 12. The whole gang is here. We have all six hosts as well as an extra special guest. I felt it was only right that as we welcome in and add a new winner to the Rewinds winner circle, that we have the winner of the very most recent season to welcome them in. So of course we have Emmanuel, aka Cody Calafiore from
Hello.
season.
We started the podcast with the
Woo!
runner-up. We ended with the
Yes.
winner.
Exactly.
Feels
We
good.
say we
Exactly.
we we bookend this whole thing with the two most iconic people from last season.
Also,
Um,
he's kind of the reverse Jason, you know. We had like a straight man
True.
playing a demon twink, and then
yeah,
but first we had a demon twink playing a straight man.
yeah, exactly. It's
And
all
then he
about the
got
Exactly.
second and he
parallels.
won, so it works out.
That's
Yes,
the beauty of
yes. Welcome,
DDR.
Emmanuel, and happy birthday.
Thank
Another
Happy
you.
Yes.
odd
birthday!
coincidence. We just have a habit of
No
filming
better way to
guest
celebrate.
stars, yeah, on their
Aw,
birthdays.
that's a
Exactly.
lie, but
Yeah, so you don't have to do all that. That's okay.
But thank you so much for being here. We can't wait to talk with you. And then yeah, there's like five other people here.
Not
So
the others.
by
The
all means,
others.
feel free to introduce yourselves.
I'm Shinx. I'm eating pancakes. Don't mind me. It's only 1 p.m.
Hell yeah. I also had pancakes, so you're fine.
I'm Sydney. I'm in the car, so if you hear things happening, just ignore it. I'm fine.
So if
I'm
you hear
alive.
a
I'm
head-on
well.
collision in the
If you hear a
middle of
head-on
this,
collision, just know like I'm good. It's fine.
good. Good, good.
it's 10 a.m. and I'm hungover. It's Swan.
No better way.
This will probably be my quietest
That's
podcast.
okay.
You're all welcome.
Hi, it's Graham. Stream 911 on Hulu, and it is currently airing live at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on ABC,
Dream Dr. Odyssey on ABC.
followed by
That shit
Dr.
goes
Odyssey.
crazy. That
Yeah,
shit
yeah,
gas.
yeah.
Not the
Anyway,
two of y'all simping for Ryan Murphy. This is
bro, it's gas.
No, I'm simping for Philippa Sue is who I'm simping.
Alex,
That reminds me. I
I'm
need to
Alex,
continue
and gay people are
participating.
very tiring, and I'm just done.
I'm not gay. I'm
Listen,
just annoying.
we're in the home stretch. We're
You are
Oh
almost
my
done.
God, I
No,
know, I
no,
know.
you need to pick a new Ryan Murphy show. You have to pitch
Scream
Grotesquerie
Queens.
or
Grotesquerie,
the
yeah.
Scream Queens.
yes,
Scream Queens.
period.
It's
Scream
Scream
Queens.
Queen season.
It is
Yes,
Scream
absolutely.
season.
But yes, we are all here. We are gathered here today to say our goodbyes to Big Brother Rewinds 17.
Thank
Oh,
God.
No, this
It
cast
had its
is really
highs,
good.
it had its
This long
lows.
Iconic
ass
cast.
The cast was good.
The
The
cast is
fact that we had
fantastic.
a double boot in the twins and Becky quit, and this season was still 55 days is
And
wild
you
to
want to
me.
know
Yeah,
why?
somebody
Because of
somebody
our
Annoying
winner.
behavior.
But here we are. We're at the final three. At the end of last episode, Jackie successfully convinced James to boot Audrey and make her a fourth place robbed goddess if we ever did see one. And we continued on with the three-part final HOH competition. The first part, of course, being the ever iconic escape room that we have moved into this slot
Yes.
officially since last season. All three of them face off in because final HOH, it's free game. Anyone can play it. It doesn't matter if you're outgoing or not. So, Swan, would you like to describe the first competition of our commercial week that we did? Kind of the
Yes.
big or normie week, if Shinx were
No, we
as
we
in
beat it
charge as he
that.
thinks he is.
We
Uh,
love Normie Week. I don't care.
Commercial week,
Um,
normal week, it's the big like blockbuster
yeah, so
years and years
this
moneymaker.
was born from like a discussion of like how did we planned the season and it eventually became like how did we plan an entire season and we don't have like the Wickeds and the Hamiltons and the Dear Evan Hansons of the world, like literally the most popular musicals of the modern era.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, well, let's fit them in. And obviously, it just made sense to escape Oz, for the escape room. I really like the escape room as part one of the final HOH. It was kind of forced there last season because of Queen Victoria. But it actually works really well because we didn't want to do like 24-hour endurance anymore. but it still is like an endurance-esque comp because it's something that takes a considerable amount of time.
Very in
And
depth. Yeah.
yeah, and you really have to be like committed to getting it done, including
Plus, the
me.
outgoing HOH almost never got to
Yeah.
play, and I would ask us to play. We had to run it like 4 times instead of 3, and it was a whole hassle.
Yeah.
Now everyone just
Yeah.
gets to play.
So on all
It's
fronts, it
amazing.
was better for us to move it
So
here.
yeah, it just works. I really like it here. So I had a lot of fun making it. It's always a little like peek into my demented brain.
You did such a good
Escape.
So
job.
good.
It
I
was really
loved it.
fun.
It's escaping Oz. You're dropped into Munchkin Land, and you have to like, find the wizard. But along the way, you have to like help three friends, three former house guests. We have Kalia Michelle is our scarecrow.
Iconic, iconic.
Kalia from Big Brother 13, I think.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, her BB comic, courtesy of Jackson's fantastic work as always, was Kalia Michelle because did not she DQ'd like every competition
She
she
would have
played.
been right at home with this.
Yeah, exactly. And I said that in part of like the challenge. It's
You
like she's
called
like,
it defying
you,
literacy.
yeah.
That was the
First of all, yeah,
title.
the
That's so
competition
good.
is called Defying Literacy,
And
but
one of them did not.
she's like in a classroom at Shiz University, studying to learn how to read to
Yeah.
do better in comps, and she's like, you and some of your castmates could probably join me, and they
Yeah.
could. Um,
So funny.
so she's our scarecrow, and then there's like some picture of Frankie Grande at a Halloween party, like in all silver body paint.
He dressed as fucking trolls from Dream
Jesus
Wars.
That's just
Christ.
wrecking trolls. So he's our Tin Man, and instead of a heart, he wants an HOH key. He could have survived had he only had an HOH key. And then, of course, there's only one cowardly lion in Big Brother Rewind's history, and he's currently giving me the middle finger, but he knows it was too perfect to pass up.
It really was, yeah.
It was good.
Thinks if he'd only worn his vote.
Nothing would have changed. This is a false narrative.
Listen, you won, you won, you won. You
This
have
is
that.
also true.
You
Let
won.
us have our narrative, okay?
Yeah.
Comfort us at night.
So those were the three friends you had to help along the way to find the wizard, which was, of course, just had to be BBR 9, 11, and 11 Jen.
9/11?
9/11.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about 9/11.
Lots of fun BB lore throughout the way. Like
It was so fun.
one of the wicked witches is Chima, and she wants the head of Sheila. Like it's like we have Sombra and Isabel as Dorothy and Toto. You have to like
Ariana Homewrecker Grande met her brother in the escape room.
yes,
Oh my God.
exactly. Yeah, I got to
Charlie
tie
wants you
in.
to get her Oz
I got
dust.
Yes, oh my God, I threw in Charlie XCX for no reason. Just so you had to find drugs for her because she had the key. Like
This
she
is
was
so
doing a
funny.
key, so like she had the key to give to
Shall we do
Frankie.
a little key? Shall we do a little line?
Exactly. And that was
Exactly.
So
Brat Summer
funny.
will never die.
It never.
exactly,
It lives on
exactly.
forever.
And yeah, her in the Oz Dust ballroom. So I was like, what if instead of cocaine it was Oz Dust?
Your
Period.
mind, it's so powerful.
You know what?
Jesus.
It reminds me of in Cats when Taylor Swift just like sprinkles down the catnip on
Yes,
the party.
Yeah,
It was
that's
very
true.
actually,
bad.
yes.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was
So it
so
was very
so
fun. It was very silly. It was very involved. It was a relatively like easier escape room, I thought, in terms of like hiding places. Like it didn't really try and trick people too much, and yet people still got tricked. First we had
Just
Jason.
discounts.
First we had Jason who was like on fire. I was worried about Jason having a disadvantage just because like we know identities now. Jack invented the escape room. Like I learned escape rooms from Jack. I
Yeah.
was really
Me
worried
too.
that this was going to heavily favor Jackie. And then later I found out that James, has also done similar style comp design as well with text parses.
Yeah, Hannah has a really big
Is that what
history
it's
of text
called?
yeah, text parses. She has a really big history of doing text parses. It's like a final
Can I ask why are they called?
immunity.
Is
I
it
don't
just like
know. I
is it
don't know.
basically like a safari pretty much? Like
It's basically
Yeah,
a
it sounds like
text-based
it. Yeah.
escape room, is what it is.
oh
Instead of
cool.
a
Yeah.
picture where you pick out things, it's just
Yeah.
like a piece of text, and you kind of go
Oh.
like if it
And
would,
it's all in
it
one
would.
channel, she said.
Yeah, normally it's all in one channel. It
That's fun.
depends. The one that she designed for Swap Fiverr was multiple channels, so it just kind of
Mhm.
depends on the format.
That makes perfect sense
But
why
yeah,
she did so well in this then. So
Yeah,
exactly.
no,
No, she just goes
she
up.
And she's already told me she wants to test like all future escape rooms. So
Oh,
Yeah.
period. She can
yeah,
be a core member of the dream team moving forward.
Mhm.
absolutely. Her and Audrey.
Oh God,
Oh
two
my
ends of the spectrum.
God.
Um, but so Jason started off like really, really well. I was worried about him not because of his comp ability, because that's obviously proven, but just because I was like, oh, I feel like we're favoring. But nope. He fucking plowed his way through. Like he found everything for Frankie and everything for Shanks in like 30 minutes. Like 30, 31, 32 minutes.
Wow.
And I was like, this man just literally has to find my head. And then he had found the rest of the pieces and would have been able to connect them all in less than 5 minutes. Like honestly, if he had found that goddamn tree stump and found my head, he would have it would have been really close between him and James' final time because James
Wow.
finished in like 37. So like that was like crazy. Um and instead he spent another 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I felt so bad for
You just
this
did not. He just
man.
did not want to search that woods. You'd think
He didn't
for a twig he'd
every
be
He
all
wasn't
about it,
channeling
but
his purple Pikmin.
every time. Oh, that was another cameo. Yeah, was
that
Purple
was
Pikmin
hilarious.
lost
Yes,
in the woods.
yes.
That was so good. But
You use
I
the
love
yeah,
it.
actual picture from his Hellwoods.
yeah,
It's
literally,
so
I
good.
used the photo Robin posted in
So
House
fucking
Chat that
crazy.
season and
So
just threw a little
wild.
purple Pikmin in it.
That's so
Yeah.
cute.
And he was like, "I found Glinda's wand. Get this away from me. It's creepy." Like, uh,
Like I don't want this.
but
Oh, no.
but yeah. So he spent 2 hours going in and out of the woods and various other places, and I felt so bad. I because you hate it when somebody's like just missing like one thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You never want these people to fail. Um, and I felt so bad. And every time he entered the woods, I'd be in Spec Lounge, like, "Come on, Jason, do
Yeah.
it, you can do it." And then he would just like go into the cabin or like go somewhere else, and I was like, "God damn it."
Yeah.
So Jason ended up being our only DNF of the round, but not for lack of effort. And like I said, he really did eat up the first like 2/3 of it, and he literally just needed one piece, and to his credit, he spent 2 fucking hours looking for that
The
piece
One Piece.
Hmm.
before he DNF'd. So good for him.
His
Nobody can
It
own
was a
say,
very
personal,
respectable try.
his
and
own question block
and I maybe
structure.
even gave him a little like credit in like comp announcements because I felt bad. I was like, he ate this time and he tried really hard after.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
between
did that a
this and
little bit with
Finland,
Dingland too.
yeah, he
Yeah.
should let the jury know, like, hey, they didn't just flop, they put in effort.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
Exactly.
promise.
If
No,
you
We
just give
promise to
DNF,
But
stay.
it's like, oh, did
because
they give up right away? No.
Jury was being a little annoying about like these end game comps. I'm like, let the girls take their time. Like this is end game. Like it
these
I
is.
people
can't
have
blame them
never
because
seen a real DNF in an escape room.
every comp for them was taking 24 hours, so I kind of get it, but of the ones to be forgiving, these are the ones to be forgiving for.
No,
Well, they're
No,
also
exactly.
escape
like
rooms,
intensive
escape
trivia
rooms are hell.
challenges.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Emmanuel. Well,
Like
that's
they're
why.
hard. They take like a lot of time to do,
They
and these
really
people
are.
are doing like the little like carnival games and like Final 12, and they're like, "How the fuck are you taking so long?" Like, calm down.
And that's why, yeah, I was kind of annoyed at jury. Like, because when James was running to deadline and endgame, James was doing it because he was studying and taking notes.
James
Yeah.
fucking, this is the only thing that
Listen,
annoyed me was James stalling on part three to study for part three. Like,
okay,
I
Yeah,
was
that
like,
was
that was
crazy.
funny.
That
That
was
was
what is
crazy.
not study for part three?
That was
Listen,
crazy. I'll give
at
you
least
that
he was
one.
consistent.
Look, Hannah's nothing if
Truly.
not a tryhard, all right? You
No,
give
I
her
get
a
right.
it.
comp,
I
she
get
is
it.
going to try to over prepare for it.
And I will
Absolutely.
say, the only thing I'll say is that I think if this hadn't been a consistent pattern, I mean, this jury was really fucking bitter. So, like, they probably would have been pissed about it anyway. But in their
Yeah.
defense, pushing deadline, that's why we got to day 55 in the goddamn first place. Like, that, this is a
No, it's true.
consistent
It's
issue.
true.
But yeah, if there's any time to be like, they make sense, it's literally in final three. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, let's be forgiving in this instance, but I get why they were
yeah.
frustrated because it had been the whole season. Um, but speaking of James, James goes next, and James like sails through it. He had like a couple like things he had to come back and find, but really relatively like very smooth, very good performance. Very few hiccups, and finishes it in like 37 minutes or something. Um,
Period.
which it probably could have been done a little bit faster, but not like too much faster. Um, So I was like, oh shit. Um, and then Jackie goes after. Um, and Jack got his karma, I guess.
Comeuppance. His
For
fucking comeuppance.
for torturing so many people throughout the years with escape rooms. He finally had his moment to be tortured. And still finished it in like an hour five, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what
Um,
it
Yeah,
says
I
in
think
but
spoilers.
something
Yeah.
like that.
his main hiccup was so there was a first portion of the escape room that was all like the Yellowbrick Road, Munchkin Land, Poppy Fields, Haunted Forest, whatever. And you had to find a train ticket to take the train to the Emerald City and to Shiz University. Um, and Jack had found everything he could in this first section except for the goddamn train
He
ticket.
got stoplight, street lighted. Ha 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 ha.
Fucking Becky.
And And he had previously, like in the cabin where the train ticket is, he had like searched trash. But Alex and I had discussed earlier, like, will we accept trash? First of all, never accept trash. Only
That's
accept the
right.
best for
Exactly.
yourself.
Exactly.
That's
Uh,
right.
but we were like, but our testers and players later as well always came back and searched specifically for the bottle, which it
And
was
it was
like a
like a
bright.
neon green
Yeah, I was about to say
bottle. Yeah.
it was a fucking bright green bottle in the corner of the thing. So it's like,
If it was clear and kind of like blended in, I would go, okay, yeah, sure, it's
yeah,
just trash. But it was so distinct
it was
that
very distinct.
it felt really, especially because it wasn't such an in-depth escape room. It felt good to have at least one thing where it's like, no, you need to just fucking say the right thing, you
Yeah,
know?
and I wanted something because everything, most other things were pretty easy to find,
Yeah.
except I guess the tree stump and but then James and Jason both found that, or James and Jackie both found the tree stump like that. I don't know.
I
So
think I
it's
would
just
have gotten hung up on the tree snub. I did not clock that. It just
I
really
never
looked
would.
like
I
a,
never would have
yeah.
finished this escape room. I would have gotten in like. I would have
Did
been in
you
there for like
finish any
5 hours.
escape room?
No,
Actually,
no,
no,
she
I
didn't.
didn't.
You did the one
No, I've never.
in
you
I've
did
Pixel.
never.
Pixel. You did
Oh,
Pixel, right?
in Pixel
She
barely, but I
finished
did finish
Pixel
it in
too.
Pixel. That's
Yeah.
right. But no, never in
Powerful.
BBR, and that's why. Like, I mean, I was rooting for Jackie to get it, obviously. But at the end of the day, like, this is just fucking karma for how many times Jack has ruined people's
Yeah,
lives over the escape room. Like, this is
Yeah.
the
and
creator. This is like Oppenheimer.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
That's a very measured comparison.
Ryan, yeah.
Exactly. I'm nothing if not fair.
That's really funny.
but yeah,
Great.
so Jackie found everything else, but then Jackie took James's time to find the train ticket, essentially.
That's unfortunate. But yes,
So
so
it was pretty much over, and then
yeah.
it
James
didn't
wins part
matter.
one.
So
He automatically
James was
moved
part
on
one.
to part three. We still got Jackie and Jason fighting for that second part three slot though. And as iconic as the escape room is, we also have the web, of course. Gotta have.
Mhm.
Can't be a good Big Brother season without a web. That's just
That's
how it
right.
is.
It's true.
Shinx, would you like to briefly describe the web that you made based on Hamilton and slightly
Yes.
Back to the Future, I guess? But
No, let's
It's
not acknowledge that.
it's mainly Hamilton, but I got on a Back to the Future kick like a month ago when I watched the movies. And I was like, oh, so I just threw it in the comp just to throw it in. But it was like, oh, you get sent back in time to Hamilton, blah blah blah. So mainly about fucking Hamilton.
Isn't there
It
like a
was
Back to the
called.
Future
What
musical
is?
or something though, I think?
Yes,
Mhm.
there was. That's why I
Yeah.
threw it in there very lightly. So yeah, basically,
You just be doing shit like.
yes, I do. It was called the web where it happens because,
that was
duh.
very cute. I
That's
love
great. That's good.
And then it was yeah, you just had to match the stars to the scrolls, the typical web thing. It only took like 2 tries to make this web versus
it.
the fucking 30 it took last
Progress
season.
from like
yeah,
the
it's-
8 or whatever from last season.
it took yeah.
I was
And
so mad testing that web
I
last.
made it all in the day before my trip, and it came out perfectly, and I was
It was
so
lovely.
happy. So
It was
yeah,
so cute. I loved the little stars and everything on it too.
thank you. So yeah, it was nothing crazy. I feel like I thought this web was easier than past webs because I kind of went baby mode on them because when I was making it, Audrey was still in the game, and I'm like, I want Audrey to have a chance. I don't want this to be too hard for her.
Take
And
pity on her, please.
but yeah,
That's my
Jackie,
mother.
yeah,
That's
Jackie.
mom.
No, Jackie didn't go. Jason went first.
Oh my
He
God, Jason went
blew
first, all
through in a
right.
time of 10 minutes, and I was
Jason
like, holy
crushed it.
fuck. And then Jackie goes, and I'm like, yo, Jackie needs to do this in like 9 minutes or it's over because Jason got a perfect score. and Jackie, as approaching 9 minutes, she was still typing. I was like, and then she didn't do it. And then 15 minutes comes, she locks in.
No.
So
Wow,
Jackie
they
lost
did
by
kind of
five
insane.
minutes. It
Jackie,
was,
please.
I'm not sure if I made the web really easier because the first box was it's a twin. So knowing where two exact pieces are might have been really easy to get things going as they fall into place. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It was still fun. And I
I
thought it
just
was
can't
still
believe
worth
Jack
it.
didn't win it. Like I honestly like fully expected it out of all three in final three for him to just cruise
Jason
through
was
the web.
like, yeah, I usually play on my
Jason is
mobile, but I
good
took my
at
work
comps and
laptop.
had
I opened
won
up Google
a day's
Docs.
comp.
I
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jason had
Die
really
on
good
Yeah,
this
notes.
hill. I will die on this hill.
Jason had
They
I
won
did
the
all
only other
expect.
like major notes comp that we really
yeah.
had. I mean,
I
other than
was
like what the week,
surprised
I guess, if you want to count
Jackie
that.
didn't
But
win. Like I
I was
couldn't.
Yeah.
we were all
It's not
shocked.
even like Jackie did poorly. No one just said this, but it's just me kind of going like, I think it was just that Jason did so
Yeah,
crazy
it was
Yeah.
well.
10 minutes
You
or
Yeah.
know,
15 minutes. Like
Yeah.
15
I
minutes
just
is
want to
already
say that in
great.
defense
Well,
of
yeah.
Jackie.
Oh no, no,
Last
yeah,
yeah,
season it was
Jackie
like
did great. Yeah.
because
I won
even
with like 30 minutes last season on like this on the web. I
yeah,
remember.
Yeah.
I
Like
think it was definitely a harder
they
web though.
zoomed
I think last
than
season,
last season.
yeah. But yeah, because even Jackie was like, it's not like Jackie was like, oh, that time was terrible. I probably could
Yeah,
No.
Jackie.
win.
I don't think Jackie could have gone
I
any
Because it
mean,
faster.
wasn't.
it was plus 50% of Jason's time.
Okay, well,
Why are you being so hateful?
Swan's just a Jason truther and a
I
Jackie
am.
anti.
I've somehow become a Jason truther,
You
Yeah.
not a
should be.
Jackie
So
anti.
over Jackie. Jackie is locked out of part three and is automatically named a nominee for the final three as James and Jason go in to battle it out in part three. Of course, it is the jury speaks. I was gonna say
Boo.
the infamous. Oh no, yeah, it is infamous.
It is fucking
I think it's
infamous.
a
Yeah,
very infamous
boo.
competition.
Why
Um,
do why are we booing? I'm
Look,
Because
confused.
jury
I
speaks.
I
I
think
hate
Jury
jury
What's
speaks.
wrong with
speaks.
it? What's wrong with
speak.
it?
It's
Jury
like
speak is
so.
awesome.
It's a
it's like a crapshoot,
It's a
it's a
honestly.
crapshoot.
You
It is
But
you
not
s-
a crapshoot. Jury
but
speaks is
isn't
not a
no,
crapshoot.
Graham, you
but
didn't
isn't
see what I did to these people. It's a fucking
no,
crapshoot.
like isn't it kind of beautiful that like part one and part two are so skill based that when you get to part three, it's like pretty much complete equal playing ground because it is a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't benefit or advantage anybody.
Well, I like that last season when I was like against Nicole, but
That's what I'm
like in
saying. Yeah.
general,
And then that
it's not
bitch
like the
still won.
most. It's not like the most fair. Shanks makes them like
No,
pretty good. Like
They're not
he's
supposed to be
looking.
fair. Like just
it
like,
is,
do
it is
better.
not a crapshoot. If you know the jury well enough, it is not a
No,
crapshoot.
That's
I
not true.
used to say
That's
that.
not
I
true.
used to say
No,
that, and then 15 happened.
I
To be
think it
fair,
gets. I
there
think
was
it can
half that
get
jury I didn't know
really
too well,
shit
but still.
posty.
I
I
and
think they
I
can
I'm
get
got
really
sorry.
shit
Are
posty.
you
Yeah, it's
I'm
your
sorry.
job
Are
to
you
know who
saying
the shit posters are. Like that's literally
are
the
you
whole fucking point.
are you saying that Jason knows the jury better than James?
James.
Yes, actually, I do. Considering how many jury
He was
members
on it.
James burned on the way out. Yeah, I would
But
say
Jason
that.
was on it.
But James is aware that he burned those jury members.
My
Jason
stance
barely was online half the game.
That's fair.
How would he know fucking
my stance
anybody?
on part three has not changed even as I won it. Because I always viewed it as a crapshoot. And when I tried the nuclear method, it still let me down and just confirmed that this shit is luck and fucking like literally just, especially if
I think
apparently
that's the thing.
I'm as
I feel
good
like
as
it's
writing
fun.
them. I don't think it's bad. I
I
just think
I
for the
don't
It is
mind
last
a luck
fun.
song.
based comp. Like I'm not. I've had ex co-hosts who are like anti luck based comps to the extreme, and like I think that there is place for luck in like both Big Brother and Survivor and just reality TV in general. I'm not sure if part three of the final
Exactly.
HOH
But
is
Yeah.
the
but the
location for
whole
a luck
thing is
based
that like
comp.
part one and part two are all skill. So it's like if you make it to the end and you've done it off of skill, and also like we talked about, like part one and part two of
Sydney,
PBR, like a lot of
Sydney,
times
I feel like part one should be
you're a
luck.
comp flop who would have been taken by both people at final three. Shut up.
Oh my
Like
god.
I
yeah,
feel
what
like
about it? What's wrong with
Okay,
that?
I just
so
What's wrong
also
with
like,
that?
what the
Be
fuck
Oh
do you
like
God.
me. Be
some of
like
like
us need part
them.
three.
in season 6? Like, what the fuck do you think Janelle would have done? Right? Like,
Probably one.
if
Like
you
if
think
she made
that
it to part
Janelle
three.
going up versus Howie or Yvette in part three and it being like a skill based like competition would have been a fair fight? Absolutely not.
I think
I
Okay,
like that it's
here's what I
everything
think.
even.
I think there's two
I
sides
like
of the
that it's an
coin.
even playing
There's
field
two
first.
sides of the coin. I think it is frustrating after playing 50 some odd fucking days for the final fucking competition to guarantee your spot in final two to be relatively luck-based and not skill. However, I do like that it evens the playing field a little bit and isn't just like a you can grind to get to the end. But I still find that
I
frustrating
feel like
because
part
I
one
want
My
to
should be
stance,
grind.
luck.
I want to
Oh,
grind.
Part one
my
should be luck,
stance.
and then if you can like after if you like luck out and get to the final part, then you have to like actually lock in. But I don't think it should be like you have
period.
to lock in for like the first two, and then the third one you like
Yeah.
it's just gonna be like
Yeah,
50-50.
I think
I
Actually, we
that
should switch those.
part
What if we?
three,
It changes in like 21, I think. They made it actually good.
after 19, where Josh beat Paul, they switched it for 20. But I was going to say that my stance on it is that I can see the argument for part three being social, but it's hard to read people when the host can see everything and is pretty good at matching what they
Mm-hmm.
say.
Mhm.
And I didn't even think I made them that hard, but everyone said I made like they went for my decoys, so both of them went for my
Mm-hmm.
decoys so many times. And Graham
agree.
subscribes to the nucleo theory of look for the answer that sounds fake, which I tried that. And when I did that, I kept getting them wrong. I just went back to going with my gut in 15 because I was
Well,
like, this
that
is not
sounds
working.
like you just have a bad gut then.
I
One
think
thing
No,
I
I
will
my gut
say,
was
His
right.
gut
Nucleo was wrong.
his gut was the right one. He won
Sounds
yeah,
the
like
his
Your
gut was
show.
wrong.
intuition is just
He
incorrect.
he he won the program. He won the show.
people should
So
just use
But
Tatsu.
I
Yeah,
want to like
honestly,
kind of
it does
rewind a
not
little
sound.
bit back to the discussion we were having on our last episode where we were talking about like is it better to go to the end with like to basically set yourself up so that you're guaranteed the end or set yourself up so that you have a better chance of winning? And I think that the reason why I said like my personal theory or like strategy is to try to set yourself up to have the most paths to the end, period.
Yeah.
And, I
Yeah.
think part of that is
Yeah.
because of shit like this. Because like,
Yeah.
if you have
yeah.
a luck-based comp or like a more, crapshooty one, you want you want to have backup plans upon backup plans upon
Yeah.
backup
Right.
plans, you know?
Like not
Yeah,
to bring up
I like calling it crapshooty rather than luck because it isn't necessarily luck, but it is crapshooty.
going
Yeah.
not to bring up 15 again, but this part three being so random was my whole logic for the move I made at Final Four is like I don't feel comfortable putting myself in a 50-50 odds to win the game against a front runner of the season, which is why I thought if we lock her out, it'd be better. And that was the whole basis for my all of my negative feelings about part three are what led my decision in Final Four. Because I'm like, I can be as good, I can dominate part one, I can destroy part two. And if I fucking second guess myself once in part three, that could throw the entire thing off.
Well, and
Especially because, go ahead.
I think we see that is relevant though here to this season because we have see Jackie make the exact same conundrum this season
Yeah.
of her being like, okay, well, I need to convince James to vote out Audrey instead of Jason because then I have more paths to the final two. She just didn't know that Jason was lying to her because Jason is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
But like
Jackie
she,
went the route of getting more paths to final two
yeah,
instead
it's
of
very
getting more
similar.
paths to win the final HOH. I was going to get the path to win the final HOH.
Yeah.
And let me add one more thing.
Well,
I
but
think
here's
so. Hold
Sydney,
on, hold
go.
on. I was gonna say I think maybe part of what the disconnect is in terms of our collective views of part three is like I think I'm viewing part three like purely from the idea of like I'm a spectator, I'm an audience member. I think sometimes you guys are approaching it more of like if I played it, how would I feel? I'm thinking of like what makes it more entertaining, like what leaves the most room for the unknown to happen or for something exciting to happen. Because honestly, a lot of the times it's not that fun when a comp beast goes into final three and beast most of the way to the end. Now, sometimes it can be if you're rooting for that person, that can be exciting. Or if it's like an underdog, like kind of, I mean, it was exciting when Jason was doing that. But sometimes it's like you don't want to see the comp beast be able just to plow their way and to get into final two. Like you want there to be an element of the underdog can come in or someone who doesn't have comp ability, but you want to see at the end can make it to the end. Like they have that chance in part three. So it's like, maybe that's also where, because like I viewing it just from someone who like, I don't really play orgs that much. I just like to watch. I want to see like I would have loved in like if Audrey made it to final three for her to have a chance to make final two.
Yes.
And the only chance she would have had a chance is if she was able to win part one or part two. And then she would actually be on an equal playing ground in part three. And that's exciting.
Yeah, no, that's
It's less
true.
certainty
I
about
agree.
like who's gonna get there.
And
Yeah,
sometimes
again-
sometimes the comp beast plows their way through and then just doesn't know how to talk to a jury. And
Right.
and
Again,
Emmanuel
it's like
wins.
part three is also like, do you know your jury well enough to know what they would say? But when both things are things they would say or have said, it
Mhm.
gets
It's
a little,
difficult.
To
Yeah.
be
and
fair,
I'm
some of
like,
them are also like kind of just like random shit that like
yeah,
you're
as
not
the
gonna
one
know, I
making it,
feel.
I'm like, I don't know how easy or hard to make. Like, I don't want it to be easy. It's the last competition, but I'm like, I don't want to make it impossible either. But I'm like, I can't make it something that like, oh, like Shelly said this to James, but never said it to Jason. I can't put that. But then, like, it's just a weird bubble of like, how do I make this fair and also somewhat difficult, but not so difficult that it's random, you know?
Oh yes.
Period.
Oh yeah.
Jackie's decision. We don't need to like do this too much because we did it a lot last episode. But you're right where like the final four is a crapshoot and like whatever. But cutting Jason instead of Audrey could have basically confirmed that James and Jackie were
Jackie,
in
yeah.
part three
Mhm.
together,
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I,
which is the most ideal scenario for
yeah.
Jackie.
I think Jackie should have gone, not to talk about, but I think she should have gone my approach of just locking in one and two, part one and two, and
Yes.
then it doesn't
Mm.
matter who wins part three. If
Yeah.
Jason is loyal like you think he is, even if you're gonna cut him, fucking cut him. If he takes two, and if you want to be against Jason, J names. If you want to be against James in part three, like you want, you have to bring someone to guarantee that you both will be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was more focused on who's going to take me to final two versus how do I better my odds of being the final HOH. And I think that's the
Tragic.
Yeah,
It's
balance
kind of
that I
Tragic.
want to
interesting
go
The
that
for.
thought process of a
And
single
that's what's you
player.
and
So
that's what's unique about her position is that like not only did she have to guarantee herself in final three, but she literally had a ride or die that she could have also get guaranteed in final three who was going to take her. So like
Yes.
she already had a leg up and then she shot herself in the foot.
It's
Yes.
interesting that if Jason, who had like the fastest time and was probably like just powering through, and like hadn't DNF'd and won the first one, Jackie arguably has a better shot in part
I don't
two
know.
Yeah.
of the second
I don't
HOH.
know
No,
because
Jackie,
James was
You
really
think?
good in trivia stuff too. James had really good
true.
notes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe not, but
James didn't test run the
The
but yeah,
web.
I'd be interested to see how
mhm,
the web
how it would
goes
play out.
Jackie versus
Yeah.
Because then it's
James.
Jackie versus Jason maybe in like
And
the final
Jason,
part
Jackie
three.
wins. Jackie would have
And
won
Jackie
part
said she knew the
three.
answer. She
But it's
I don't know if
also,
Yeah.
it's
that's like
it's different pressure when it's like you're not
It
in it.
is.
exactly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Out on the
But she
line.
was like, I would have guessed that. I would have guessed that. I would have guessed that. I would have
Yeah.
guessed that.
Yeah.
So
I think if Jackie had made part three, I think she probably would have won it. It's hard
I
to
think so.
but
But
mhm.
yeah, she
I think she
didn't.
just has like a slightly better read, and like it is kind of crapshooty, but like there is like the smallest kind of aspect where it's like
yeah.
you do like somewhat
Yeah.
like know the people, and it does like impact you a bit. So who
Yeah.
knows?
Yep.
And I guess I cooked too hard with the decoy answer.
sure.
Just
We'll go with that.
And Jason wins final HOH.
He
yeah.
does. Uh,
The
rather
comp
shocking.
beast cockroach king.
Absolutely, yeah. He
Jackie goes on a smear campaign against James, but it doesn't really matter. There's nothing she could say to
Yeah,
Jason except
Jackie had like a copy paste like ready. She was
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
He had a
he's been my
novel.
ride or die. He knew everything. Like
that would turn me off like immediately. Like if you have that prepared, I'm like, yeah, like you're
yeah,
out of
all
here.
James needed to call Jason a slur to get evicted.
Like,
it is
Literally.
well
Never
a
did.
final three pitch is always like it's a catch 22 of
mhm.
it's like if you have a good pitch that convinces somebody to bring you when somebody is pitching me if I've had people pitch me at final three and I'm like your pitch is good
But I don't want to go against this.
but your pitch is so good that A like if I give you this you now have another move and then B you're pitching me so well that I don't want you to talk to a fucking
I
jury.
feel
Why
like it
don't
needs to be on
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
that
the
part.
go
basis of like
go tell the
personal
jury how good my
relationships.
game is. Why
You
don't you go
can't change
why don't
if
you
you
go pitch the
can't change
jury
your mind
on
at
my
final.
game?
You cannot change your mind at final three. You have if
Yeah.
you're going undecided, you have to be undecided. But if you already have something set, you cannot let yourself be flipped.
Somebody has to have
I
somebody
feel
has to
like
have like a bombshell like to
I
really
feel like the
change it.
only thing you can do is like just like a piece like the personal aspect of them just be like, oh, like we've been like depending on the context, like we've been together like the whole game, like blah 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 blah, or just like I feel like you can't like appeal to it from like a game thing
Yeah.
because like people are like immediately if someone's trying to like convince you something game wise and then you give into it and then you bring them to the
Yep.
final two, that's like the
It's a
ultimate
move.
reason
Yeah.
why they
Every
should
time
win.
I beg someone in front of them, I'm like, please don't do this. We're so close. Please don't
Yeah.
do this to me. I don't talk about game at all. I'm like, please don't kill me. I don't want to
Um,
die.
Emmanuel,
Has it ever worked?
were you gonna take Amber, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
he would have
Which is
lost.
funny because you
Wrongly.
lose. Yeah. Well, that was the problem with your season's final HOH was it was like winning was bad
Bad.
for whoever won final HOH
Yeah.
because it was like
Yeah.
whoever wins is taking a threat with them because all
Yeah.
three of y'all were so
There
Amber
strong.
was
was
there was
probably
a triangle for a little bit, but then Amber like switched to cutting Nicole at the last second. But originally Nicole takes Cody, Cody takes Amber, Amber takes Nicole. For a lot of the final three,
Yeah.
that's how it was,
And it was gonna
which
look
was
bad
fun to
for
watch.
whoever did it.
Yeah,
yeah.
It was very like the Tyler and Casey of it all in 20. It was like, okay, so we need to throw this final HOH. So,
But it
literally.
was fine because I guess like 100 and the answer was like 20 or something. So
Yeah, it was like 10.
yeah. But yes, with Jason being the final HOH of the season, it was a little questionable there, as we've discussed, like with Alex and everything. He almost misted the specs for a little bit as well.
He
Or
did.
maybe we were just clinging on to hope so much
That's maybe true. Yeah.
that yeah,
It could have
Jason
also
would.
been that he just misted me, and then I was just speaking so confidently that the specs just took my word
Every
for it.
time Alex said something, I was like, "Is that right? I'm
I
not
mean, I
sure."
guess that just proves that like an effective argument it was
Yeah,
that
it made sense to me.
Jason felt that Jason said to Jackie that, well, me and James, we've played such similar games, if we've been in such lockstep from like when I came back on that I wouldn't it would it's kind of the thing of kind of like with Cody and Nicole last season with you, Emmanuel, where your games were so wildly different
mhm.
that there was more to talk up and build up
Right.
both like contrasting with each other instead of having like two very similar games where
Well, yeah, like so much of my
people
argument is just like shitting on her for like winning comps, and like I couldn't do that if Amber was there. Like I would never be able to do that at
yeah,
all.
It's
I would
exactly.
have been
easier.
like,
It's easier to pitch when it makes sense, and
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
worked for Jason. What he was saying made sense, and that's
absolutely.
part of why Jackie believed it. She's like, you know what? He's right. Their games are similar.
hmm.
Okay, Jason.
Yeah.
But she failed to
Jackie,
realize that it's like
Jackie,
a pitch
yeah,
for
it's
Yeah.
like
like
Jackie, look in the
something
mirror.
to
You're the
benefit.
biggest threat. He's not taking you.
But
Yeah, he did.
also, Jason winning Final HOH locked in that he stays at 8 nominations, which means he can't break the nom record.
Ugh,
So him and Dominic are still tied
I
for
know. What the
eternity,
Damn
fuck?
it.
probably.
They're so like they both make it to final two. Both of them don't win. 8 nominations.
Battle
Battle
That's
back.
bag.
funny.
Their
That's
games are so
crazy.
similar.
They really are. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
I'm telling you,
But
season had a
yes.
lot of parallels to 13. There's
Yeah.
so many.
It did.
It just wasn't as good.
It
I
Yeah.
almost had parallels to
it
5.
literally wasn't. Like it just wasn't as entertaining, unfortunately.
If
Like,
James won and took
yeah,
Jackie, I would have said it compares more to 5, but because he
yeah.
didn't, it goes more to
Yeah.
It's
13.
like the parallels are crazy. It's just the falling of the Glorbs didn't happen as
It didn't happen fast enough, first
it
of
didn't
all.
happen fast enough, and it didn't happen as entertainingly as we hoped it
No.
would. And I
And then
think
when it
that's
happened,
the
it
problem.
really happened. And
It
Yeah.
was like full on cannibalizing each other.
And I think that was the problem, that
yeah,
it was just like it didn't happen the way it needed
I
to.
know. Yeah, I do think that post like Jason coming back, second and final eight. I think from that point on, the season was very good and
I think
enjoyable.
jury
Absolutely.
phase was great. I
Hmm.
think pre-jury
Um,
was like usually it's opposite. Like pre-jury tends to be like, or I guess it just depends, but I feel like pre-jury usually is more exciting in the last few seasons, and then jury phase kind of slows down because all the great players are left and they start
yeah,
like really locking in. But this one, it was like pre-jury phase was such a slog,
yeah.
and like nothing happened, and it was so predictable, and nothing like they evicted the twins, like it was horrible. And then
Well,
jury phase happened, and the Globes started eating each other up, and then it was kind of fun.
part of it is just the nature of our org, knowing the twists ahead of time. You're
It
able to
is,
Especially
play
the
yeah.
battle
around.
back.
You're able
Yeah.
to play around the twists, and yeah, with the battle back especially, it just kind of like sucks all of the energy
Hmm.
from
Yeah,
anything
like
It
pre-battle back.
does.
Like,
Jack was
Unless
mentioning,
people like really don't give a fuck,
yeah.
most people are going to like be playing those portions of the game like pretty safe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jack even
yeah,
mentioned like let's break from convention and get rid of the post-jury battle back. So I'm like, there's only 2 more that are coming up, thankfully, and they're both not even guaranteed to happen if earlier twists work out.
Yeah.
So just cross our fingers
Yeah.
that the earlier twists work out
Battle
and we get back to
sucks. I would love to never see them, but for this very reason, like it just sucks up so much
yeah,
energy
looking at 3 seasons in a row of it happening now, I think 15 didn't suffer as much actually
because
because we were just fucking
it's
crazy.
well,
Yeah.
yeah.
and Emmanuel's season, they at least like took a unique strategy to it that made
Yeah,
it
of
interesting.
sticking
Where
with
they
Yeah.
were
those
like,
all
we're
copies.
just gonna load up all the comp base and make
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
compete against
And then
each other.
the one not comp piece won in the end anyways.
Another
That was so
that's
So
funny.
fun.
Yeah,
iconic.
this season the battle back
Let's
of it all.
fucking go.
Firstly, it got stifled with Becky's quit. Like shouldn't get down to three people was already a little weird. And then
Yeah.
just
Also, the first two boots of the season were like literally inactive and like doing
Yeah.
nothing. So those
Yeah.
those 2 weeks were just like nothing to do, nothing to care about.
I feel like that kind of like sets the slog up just to like be like, okay, we're just gonna target like all the like
yeah,
inactive,
because
boring people.
that was the biggest thing with 15. We ran out of fucking gates. 16, yeah,
Hmm.
it was a little slow. With the Frankie's boot was at least funny, and Paolo's boot was like whatever. Then you get thrown into the fucking Devon of it all, and that really keeps things
I
going.
thought 16 had a nice progression of
Yeah,
Yes,
I
like
got, I get
ramping
absolutely.
that.
up to
But
Yeah.
yeah,
here,
like that Derek boot,
yeah,
that like the
Yeah.
Zach
Yeah.
door, the double eviction with Caleb. Like it felt like a roller
The peak
coaster
is
from
like
like
just like the
picking
little
up.
middle part, like end of jury, like start of pre-jury.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
start of
But then like
end of pre-jury, start of jury.
Yeah.
yeah, but here we had the slog of Clay, the slog of Steve, and then even Austin
Hmm.
and John was a slog. And the twins were exciting, tragic but exciting, and then it just went back to status. But even that was still just status quo at the end of the day because everyone hated the twins anyways. And the
Yeah.
flip that would have been exciting didn't happen. Then the slog of Jeff, the slog of Jason in the double, Becky
No,
quits,
The
and
Jeff
slog
vote
of
was
Shelly.
exciting.
Yeah, the
It was
Jeff vote was
exciting,
exciting.
but it was also still the majority was still doing whatever they wanted. Either
That's true.
they were fighting about it, but ultimately the majority still got their. The majority never didn't get their way.
I
But
think
like
part of it was
15,
also
I think
like the
yeah,
fact that
16
so many
got
of the
their way.
noms pre-jury were so
Were the
recycled and it
same
was just the
people.
same
Yeah,
people
Hmm.
over and over and over. And it was a combination of boring and depressing because
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the play it was really stressful on the players. So then you had them having like fucking breakdowns, but not in like a funny way, just in like a sad way.
Yeah, like I don't
Yeah,
want to be
like
on the block
Kelly was
again,
it
please.
demoralized.
was
Yeah.
legitimately
Jason was demoralized.
for people like Shelly and Becky and
Yeah. Like
Especially
genuinely
with
it's
Battle of the Block, I
draining.
feel like once it's Battle of the Block and like you're like set as someone who's just gonna go up every week, like there's no way out of being like one of four nominations. Like you're kind of
Exactly.
You
just
have to
Yeah.
like
win the
you're
well,
kind of
gates
and
and
stuck.
like do something
honestly,
about it.
honestly, there's a part of me that's like looking at the meta of like the past two seasons, if Battle of the Block were to ever happen again and I were to play it, which isn't happening, thank God, but I'm
Yeah.
like, would I want to intentionally lose my first ever Battle of the Block and maybe just survive the vote? Because like the meta has become like, oh, I'll
Yeah.
put you up because you're gonna win Battle of the Block. You're
Yeah.
so good.
The
Like,
Especially
I
this season.
I
yeah.
hosted an org with the Battle of the Block like maybe like like almost a decade ago actually, but it was like basically Survivor in a sense because they were in two teams of eight and they could only nominate from the other team, and that guy won the Battle of the Block. Their team was. I mean, that's a format that I think Battle of the Block works, but just a free for all of 16 people where you're like not forced to. You're it's just going to become boring. But at least where the teams are sides, it's like okay, maybe variety can shake up and
Yeah.
maybe it'll stop being such a slog. And I want to see that happen in another org, but I'm not going to host another org. So I'm just like, whatever happens, happens. But
Yeah.
that's the only format that I really think can save the Battle of the Block. But otherwise, it's just a
A
flop,
shitty
I fear.
twist.
And I'm
Yeah.
glad that
I
it's
just feel
over.
like I feel like the main struggle for this season for me was because I'm a big like I like people's stories and I like their arcs and everything and
Yeah.
like a lot of what I say about 11 is that like everybody like the boot order was like nearly perfect, like everyone went like when it felt like correct or they had like a moment or something like that. I think 15 was a lot of that too. um uh, and I felt like this season was it's so odd because I genuinely think that obviously except for the first two boots that kind of just did nothing. Um, uh, I felt like the other those other like 15 people I feel like is one of our strongest like overall cast that we've had. And it's so odd to me that that's the case, but the gameplay was so like stifling almost, and that there really wasn't a lot of interesting things going on, or I felt like things would be kind of like going on that like upward tick, like we were talking about with 16. And it would be like, oh, the twins are about to enter the game, they're about to be here, and then they get evicted like right before
It's
they
kind of like real life Big Brother 16, I feel. Like the cast is really good and they have like a lot of potential, but like overall when you like really just like break it down to like what happens each week, it's like mm, meh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like okay, well now we're in the jury phase and okay, Jason's back. Yay. Like maybe he'll shake things up and he finally takes a shot at the Glorbs and it's something we've been waiting for like 30, 40 days or whatever. And then it we get there and like, oh, super exciting. I thought the Liz vote was super exciting. I thought the Jace vote was super exciting. Meg and Audrey finally coming together, but then Meg just getting sniped by Jackie at the double anyways, and then Davon finally going. It felt like all of that was leading to this like, okay, Jackie can like survive and she'll get to the end and be the one that took down like the Glorbs and made it out on the other side, and then she just gets third place anyways too.
I feel like Jackie not winning like kind of ruins like everything because then it's like it was all
I
for
wouldn't say
nothing. Like
that.
everything was built.
No,
Yeah,
I wouldn't say that. I think that Jackie and James were such an equitable duo that I think
absolutely.
that's a really unfair statement.
Yeah,
I
my
feel like they were in like
ideal
different.
scenario for the end would have been James winning final HOH and
Yeah,
taking Jackie to the end,
Yeah.
and then
And
Jackie.
getting
I
eviscerated by
agree.
the jury.
I thought that would have been like the perfect like bow on like the top of this season to like really end things out. And obviously
I mean,
we do still
I,
get to a scenario in which James does get to the end and he
Mhm.
does take home the win, obviously. And I think James played other than I think his main thing obviously was the jury handling. But by the
Yep.
time he got to the final two, he remedied what he needed to do and he still pretty overwhelmingly won. Um, so outside of the jury, I do think he played a pretty flawless, like second in command,
mhm.
like
I
game
think
that you could
I
want to.
think yeah, if James's jury management hadn't been what it was, and if James had been willing to cut Jackie, James would have been a heavy contender for player of the season.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember it was somewhere around like 6 or 7 or maybe even 5. I can't remember. But James was like talking in his DR about taking Jackie to final two, and I was like, "Oh, Jackie's player of the season." Like that's it.
Yeah.
That's
So,
it.
well,
And
I
And
Especially
do.
when Jackie started talking about cutting James, like, okay.
Yeah,
that's the thing. They were like basically in their DRs at the same time, and Jackie was like, "It's gonna suck, but I'm gonna cut Jason because I want to win." And Jason was like,
James.
or sorry,
James.
James, whatever.
yeah.
And
See?
James was like, I just don't have it in me to cut Jackie. Like, I really want to go to the end with Jackie. And I was like, it's
Yeah.
happening at like the same time, basically. And I was like, well, that ate.
Right. So
yeah,
I do very much still think that James as a winner for the season makes a lot of sense and
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
well deserved
Well,
and
and kind of
The character wins the
continues the
ticket season.
roller coaster of the season and the bit of
that's
like the
true.
Charlie Brown football of like, oh, everybody, jury included, was like so primed for a Jackie win, and
I
then
know.
bloop.
It's like the expectation versus like what actually happens, I feel like. That kind
Mhm.
of
And honestly, part of me really likes it because it forced the jury to respect James's game
Yes. Yeah.
more than
Exactly.
they already
I was
did.
just about to say that. It's so interesting. This season's a little odd because it's like we have this main group of characters, and I mean, we even talked about it in earlier podcasts. We have not had an alliance, like it as an actual alliance.
Mhm.
I'm not talking duo or trio. You know what I mean? Like a small core of people. We have not had an actual alliance run the game to this extent ever. I really think in BB Rewind's history, at least like a full-fledged like six
Yeah,
person alliance,
Yeah.
like really because like Shield was
because
there, but y'all were
Shield
all
was a mess.
hated each other. You know
Field
what I
broke
mean?
up.
And it was
Alpha
like
was infighting. Yeah.
it's like we haven't had that before, and then to have that be kind of the narrative arc of the season, and then not have one of them even make it into the final two, and not in like a very fun, calculated, at a way where the outsiders get together and like are like we're gonna get out the Glorbs. It was like a cannibalization and then like slow death. It was like just it was really odd. I I would have loved to see a Jackie and James final two. And
Hmm.
I would have really been fine. I mean, I'm fine with James winning either way. I think he's a great winner, regardless of how it
Correct.
happened. Han was a fantastic winner. I love Han. I'm
Yeah.
so glad she won.
Mhm.
She was on my draft. She was one of my people I was like
That's my
eyeing
winner pick.
winner. You know what I mean? Like I was eyeing that kind of spot anyway. I would have really loved it if a Glorb didn't end up winning, that it would have been James like finally overcoming that Jackie hurdle or something. That would
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
been really interesting. I think, like Jackson said, it was just just an odd narrative arc for the way that for the story to end, right? It kind of feels like this whole season is as a collective kind of unfinished business.
It's just
But
very disjointed in
yeah,
up
and
and
Lord drop
Unfinished business, you
for
say?
season 21,
Well,
yeah.
and also, I mean, like on the, of course, the host, we know the identities of everyone, and like I know at least for me, like of course, I wanted to see Jack, who this is his baby, this is his org. I
Yeah,
wanted to see him enter and play and win on his first time. Like that would have just been like a very beautiful thing. And
That's
I,
part of the crazy thing is that Jack has never
yeah,
won a Big Brother org.
yeah,
it's
and he's
As
insane.
so
good as he
good.
is.
Oh, I
He's
forgot about
so
that.
good.
He's so good, and it's like, but that's I think
He's
if
been
I
third a couple times. So yeah.
yes,
Yeah. But I think like
I think
go ahead.
oh go ahead. Or I
Go
was
ahead.
just gonna say like if you take a step back, like or if I take a step back and I don't look at it from like I want Jack to win because this is his org, and I
Yeah,
just look at the characters and the people, like I still think obviously I think Jackie would have been an amazing winner as a bow to the orbs and their power. But I do think it might be actually more narratively interesting, like you guys said, for the jury to have to look at these two people that they didn't really want to vote for either of them, but then are
yeah,
forced to respect
Yeah.
how they got there and why they're there, and also respect the fact that, I mean, at the end of the day, James's jury management was poor, but it didn't matter. He won. He
yeah, he
overcame
still
Yeah.
that.
was.
So it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
the only flaw in his game did not stop him from winning. So
yeah,
in that sense, like he really did have a pretty flawless game. His only misstep honestly would have been if he'd won part three and taken Jackie, and that
yeah,
didn't
Yeah.
even happen. So that
Yeah.
was always just like a hypothetical. So
And he tried to like kind of like talk around it in
yeah.
jury
Yeah.
yeah,
questioning.
of course he
Like
did.
he was like, "Oh yeah, I just, I didn't throw the part three, but I was okay with Jason winning." Which I've been in that situation before
Yeah.
where I'm like, I'm not actively throwing, but if like the other result happens, it's kind of better for me, so I'm okay with it.
absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You can have plausible deniability this way still. So.
Yeah,
For sure.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
But
but I
James did make me laugh with one of his answers about like taking Jackie. He kind of like said he was taking Jackie, but like in the most like roundabout way possible, which was
Yeah.
probably what he needed to do in front of the
Yeah.
jury.
yeah.
He made the right decision. Yeah, for sure.
No, and I love James. I love Han. I'm so glad that Han is a winner and a part of our community. And
Agreed.
She's
like
great.
it was so
That's a
awesome,
queen.
and we have like an actual IRL woman winning other than like
Hmm.
yeah and Mira. You know what I mean? Like it's great. It was so awesome. And James played a great game.
Yeah,
That's the other thing.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Because
Yes.
I mean he is by no, like the James alt or whatever is by no means going in our lower tiers of winners. You know,
No,
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 it's not
no.
no.
going in, it's probably not going to go in like our top five if we were to redo our ranking, but it would
High
definitely
up. High up
be,
still.
I
you know
said
what I
upper
mean?
mid, yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely be high up, right? So
And if it weren't for jury management, he'd be even higher.
it would
Like
I
probably
honestly.
be in the
agree.
top
Absolutely.
five at that
I
point. Yeah,
agree.
it's like it was just
The winner and the season are not correlated in
yes,
terms of
correct.
like we can have an amazing winner in a season that wasn't as fulfilling, or vice
Yeah,
versa. Like you can have an amazing season, but the winner doesn't necessarily feel representative of that season.
yeah, and I just wanted to state that while we were doing all this kind of reflecting about how we got to final two and like what that kind of
Yeah.
No,
as because
James
I felt like
positioning
that
A.
I felt like that needed to be
Really.
said. Right? Like James is a great winner, and
Yeah.
We all
also two things can be true. The season can be kind of meh story wise and not feel fulfilling, and we can also still have someone who played a really good game win.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
James and I were
absolutely.
talking about this earlier. There was one point where James was number 6 in the power rankings, and that was the round he was nominated against Shelly on Liz's sweep week.
hmm
And
yeah,
other than that, he was in the top 5 for the power rankings the entire season.
yeah,
and often in the top three
Yeah.
or the top two.
Yeah.
I was gonna
I
say,
mean,
yeah.
and like even at his lowest was 6. Like,
Yeah.
oh no,
I
you
can
know.
I think I can
Yeah.
genuinely
Right?
say he was never in legitimate danger of going
No,
down.
No.
he
Exactly.
never
Yeah.
was.
No,
Never
Are we
you
was.
could
talking about
always
so
just tell
I
like
cut out for a second. Are you talking about James's positioning and how flawless it is?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, James was only outside of the top 5 of power rankings once, and he was number 6.
Yeah, it
Um,
was a master class in
yeah,
social positioning.
And
Like
we
actual
talked
social
we
That
positioning.
is one of
Absolutely.
Han's best skill sets is a
Yeah.
social positioning. She is a great social player, and she is very, very good at the intersection of social and strategic game.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
is
Gotcha.
her sweet spot.
A lot of our winners actually kind of fall into that category of like a good
Mhm.
intersection. But And she also like did all of this again under the James moniker. Like under
Yeah.
while also not playing her regular kind of game.
And as her first Big
but
Brother ever.
don't tell the jury that because they
Oh,
hated
Jesus.
anything about the character.
We're gonna talk about that in the next part. We're gonna
Yes,
go down to
yeah.
we will be talking about the final two and the jury and their emotional manipulation and whatever.
This
I'll
might
go-
be
Jesus
is
fucking
this
Christ.
objectively the most bitter jury we've ever had, or has there been
I
worse?
think
I can't
so.
remember.
It's up there. It's up there.
It's up there.
Yeah,
It's up there. I don't think
definitely
it's the
top
most,
three.
though.
I would say top three.
The other thing I would say about James's positioning is that we always kind of talked about Audrey as like the tag along of the Glorbs, and she was the like visibly tag along of the Glorbs, but via the duo with Jackie, James was always an honorary Glorb,
Yeah.
But the thing is,
whether everybody
They
else
didn't
knew
know
whether
that.
exactly whether they knew that or
Right.
not.
They
I
knew
would
Audrey
say
was
I
their
wouldn't
sixth.
I
but they
wouldn't
didn't
call
know
him a
Every single
tag along.
Glorb, every
was
single
like-
Glorb but Liz thought that James was in their back pocket.
No,
Yeah.
that's what I
Like-
mean. Like Audrey was the tag along because like, and I say this with all the love because I love Audrey, but like she was like constantly being dragged along by them for their plans, but had no autonomy and like did not know what was going on half the time. James knew. Like
Yeah.
James wasn't. I wouldn't even say he was part of the Glorbs. He was just like constantly in their business, and none
In
of
the
them had
know,
any
yeah.
idea. He was like a little spy, whereas Audrey was like the visible, like gotta get Audrey
We've-
again this week.
We've
and
got
Audrey's
Audrey
like, what's
as a
going
number,
on?
yeah.
We have James and Jason in the final two, obviously. It's all led up to this. There's just a few.
Two J names.
Yeah, two
Could have
J.
been
It's
my
only
worst.
fitting.
Actually,
The
my
first
worst
ever
fucking nightmare.
male final two of Rewind's history.
Whoa,
under the
that's
vault.
crazy.
Yeah. Wild.
There's always been a
Wow.
woman. She's almost
Just
always won.
as BBR 26 is about to have the first all-female final two of IRL Big Brother.
As long as Mackenzie doesn't drop
Right.
the fucking ball.
They keep saying it as if that's a real stat that hasn't happened yet.
It's just Chelsea and her bullshit.
Chelsea and Rubina don't fucking know. Anyways,
Yes, we're really putting the his in history here. As
God.
as
three
James
all-male
and
winners in a
Jason.
row. I'm so sorry.
Is this
Yeah.
the first
Too
time that
bad.
a male alt has won, but it's a female player behind the male alt?
Yes.
That's a good question. I think
Yes.
so.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah.
rare enough that a
It's
male alt.
usually the opposite. Yeah, it's usually a
usually-
female alt played
it's
by a
usually
male.
There's four
some-
guy winners.
It's
and
usually a
me,
female out with some
Emmanuel,
fag behind it.
Howie, and Kristen, and now Han. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
true.
accurate. That's accurate.
I was saying what
Only
Sydney
Matt
was
won.
trying to say.
Right.
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say at least to start with, I thought both of their opening speeches were pretty good.
I
Jury
thought so
said they
too.
were long as fuck.
Yeah, they were
They weren't
rather
even
long.
that long.
Somehow
Okay,
The
Jason's,
jury is just
Jason's
haters.
was longer than James's, right? Somebody pointed that out.
Jason had more to
Yeah.
embellish. So
Yeah.
he
Well,
needed to go
true.
longer.
Jason had more
But
to prove.
Well, but
Yeah.
so the jury thought Jason's was so long, and then all of them were like bracing themselves for James because they were like, "Here we
And
fucking go."
Jason posted his at like noon, and James posted his at 55, and the deadline was like
Yeah.
7 or something.
So they
I
were all
think
convinced
Jeff-
that James's was going to be even longer.
Yeah, because Jeff was like, "Well, if Jason barely had enough time to talk to us all season, I can't fucking imagine how."
Because James's GBMs were the fucking first page of a speech by themselves. So
I was about to say, but maybe that was it, is that James had covered enough in
Mhm.
GBMs to where he just had to expand on things rather
He
than
laid the
like,
foundation.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is that good GBM.
I know.
I
I
think,
always
I think
feel
his were a
like
little.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Well, no, but you know
I
what I mean.
wouldn't say that, but in practice, yes, a good goodbye
it's what it
message
should-
is laying the foundation for a speech. Yeah.
I think
Right.
not enough people use goodbye messages to prep the jury for them being in the end and
Yeah.
kind of like laying out the narrative of their game and everything. I
And
think
you-
one thing that James didn't do well enough was that his goodbye messages were a little too generic.
Yes.
You know, like there was discussion about copy and paste. I think he probably should have tailored each one to people more specifically. Like, okay, I
Yeah.
know this person would probably care more about this shit. Let me expand more on this. And then like expecting them to compare notes in jury to kind of fill in the blanks for each
Yeah.
other.
And also, once you do the bombshell to like the first couple jurors of like the Jackie duo, you should be able to just like kind of brush past that with everybody else and be
Yeah.
like, you're gonna find out quickly in jury, Jackie and I were a duo. I don't need to give you the whole spiel because you'll hear all about it.
absolutely.
Unless they think they were then number one.
Potentially, but you could also be afraid that they're gonna like rewrite the narrative, like in jury. Like you want to
True.
give like your own narrative of of what it was.
True.
Yeah.
I think
I
James's problem was like he just came across as like, and I don't think this was his intention, but it just came across sometimes as like I pulled one over on you, and like I'm like the mastermind here,
Well,
and that
that's
just
what the
felt
jury said a lot.
condescending.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the jury didn't like, and even in questioning as well, and in the speech, they didn't like that he claimed certain things. Like Shelley was like
yes.
he claimed like he stayed against me like as a move when Shelley was like I asked to go home. Like
And I will say, there's
um
nothing more infuriating than when someone in Final Two tries to tell you what you were thinking and
Oh
doing at a
yeah.
time in the game.
you
You
have to
Yeah.
have
have
to
a
like, oh,
there's like a level of claiming you have to do, and you have to be within like a tight margin of like claiming enough to where
yes.
you're like taking ownership of your game but not claiming too much to be like, oh well, I ran this shit, which I don't think
It's
James was like
confident, not cocky
having.
No,
is what you need to
Yeah,
do.
James,
yeah,
and I don't think James ever felt or was trying to be cocky. I mean,
No,
yeah.
honestly,
no,
sometimes
but
you just make that misstep sometimes where you're trying to explain
Well, a
yourself
lot of the
and you
jurors were
encroach
projecting
too
too.
much. Oh,
Most of the
and
jurors
that
were
was the other
protected.
problem. Like, I like, yeah, no,
I
Well,
think
and the thing is just
yeah.
James.
again,
I'm just glad. I mean, honestly,
Sorry.
well, she's
Who's-
gone. The thing
Thank
I
God.
would say I want to be really specific to again, it's like anything we say about like, well, James kind of made this misstep. James still won 8-1. So
He
like
did.
Yeah, we need
keep
to
Well,
like
all
all
of
of
it
bear that
was
in
that
mind.
alleged
really
though.
let's
But
keep all of that in mind, however, but just in terms of like for like general Big Brother discussion, yeah,
yeah.
there were some missteps that happened, but James still won eight to
But
one.
James still won
No other
James
way
won
handily.
to
eight
put
to
Yeah.
it.
one in a game where we just spent one podcast episode talking for 20 minutes about how horseshit his jury management is.
No,
Like
Yeah.
he still
Yeah,
exactly.
ate car.
literally.
Yeah.
Like
Literally, he's so fine.
And
Hannah's
I
so
know
fine. She's
exactly.
and
great.
again, like a lot of it wasn't like I genuinely do not think most of what James said was even objectively wrong. He was just up against, and again, very successful against, but up against a very bitter and
Mhm.
very bitter jury and a jury that wanted to hear a very specific narrative that like wasn't even true. Like the things that they wanted to hear like wouldn't have even been like there would have been no reason for Jason or James to bring them up or even talk about it. It's like their expectations were just like not realistic or fair. But
yeah.
James still like did very, very well. So like
Yeah,
that's we gotta say that.
any discussion we're having about James, yeah, is the caveat of he won 8-1.
Yeah.
He's a great winner, a great
And the only
player.
one is that
And
Audrey's being annoying.
we're literally just critiquing for the sake of like observing Big Brother gameplay
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is
how we
basically just like
perceive
meta
it.
Big Brother commentary and us nerding
this is
out
just
is what's
our
going
taking.
Basically,
on.
yeah.
Everyone
Absolutely.
has a podcast. That's what it is.
I did want to say kind of my overall feelings about like opening speeches, final tribal council, final two, whatever. I've always kind of taken the approach, albeit it hasn't happened a lot for me, but it's happened enough times that I can consistently kind of have a method to approach it. I feel like I've always seen it as like that whole thing. People don't want to read 14 fucking pages of like
Uh-huh.
8 paragraphs for every cycle of gameplay or whatever. At least in my mind. I know I don't.
I
So
hate the cycle by cycle breakdown
it
format
doesn't
of
do
a
well for
speech.
anybody.
No.
I've always kind of taken the approach of, okay, well, what was like the thing that really allowed me to succeed in this game? And I'll take that. And so say it was for James, whatever. You can say it's his positioning or whatever you want to pick. And then I would always take that and be like, "Hi everybody," because also I don't think you have to describe your entire game in every explicit detail in the opening speech because the fucking jury members are just going to ask you a million questions about the same thing you've already said 3 times. And so there's no point in like
To be
explaining
fair
it
though,
again.
I wouldn't trust the jury. In general, I don't trust juries. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust the jury to ask me questions about a topic if I really want to bring it up. If there's something that I need the jury to know about my
Yes.
game,
Then
it is
yes,
going to be in
put
that
it in
fucking
the
speech, and
yeah,
I will force feed it to them with like a little airplane spoon.
absolutely, yeah.
Um,
Well,
For
and I
stuff
will
like
say
that, yes.
one
But
thing
like
about Big Brother orgs or orgs in general, is that like it's goodbye messages don't operate like this on the show.
no.
Like you do not get to sit there and monologue for 30 minutes about your motherfucking
Yeah.
game.
Yes.
Yeah.
You really don't. So like we're already kind of tweaking the mechanics of like IRL Big Brother a little bit in we allow in speeches and questioning and goodbye messages. And like would not translate to the game IRL at all.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I've always thought has been interesting in orgs. Because I'm like, y'all realize you don't get to like yap like this on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. At least not anymore. I mean, they used to do the thing where like the jury questioning was like all day and like they were still in the house and all that. But ever since they started
Wait, when
doing
was that?
For a
I think the
while.
last
Before
Early.
time,
maybe
I think the last
11,
time they did it was like
14,
season
I think.
10.
yeah,
Oh wait.
say season 9 or
11,
Oh wait, not 14,
11,
no.
11 is where they started doing live Final Three and everything.
yeah.
So
But
that's
yeah,
like
it used to be
two
like I
seasons.
remember Dick and Danielle,
Yeah.
mainly for
Right,
whatever
right.
reason on the show. Yeah, they have like the whole day, and they're still in
That
the
was
Oh,
house.
like part
that's
of the round table.
fascinating.
Yeah, they
That's
Okay.
chat
part of
to
why
all the
Danielle was
jurors.
so mad at finale because she like at the round table it was clear she was losing and she had to stew in the house, big ass house with her dad for like 2 more days after that. It was
Yeah,
fucking
Her
hilarious.
fuck ass fucking father. Yeah.
I'd be
but
pissed
yes,
too.
um, yeah, I always kind of see it as like, okay, this was the main thing that allowed me to succeed. I'm gonna give like 3 or 4 examples of in the game where that specific, and that could be like what you said, Alex, one of those things that you
Mhm.
absolutely want to touch on.
Yeah.
Here's like a few examples that directly show how this benefited me. Thank you so much for reading this. I look forward to your questions. Done. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
that.
reading my 15 speech right now.
Alternatively, I like the cycle, maybe not cycle by cycle, but like maybe a paragraph or like some time about jury pre-jury and then like this phase of jury and then this phase of
Yeah.
jury. But that's personally because I forget. Like I honestly, by the time I get to the end of the season, every single time I'm like, what did happen? Like I have to go back and read. I'm like, because that's just me. So I
Yeah.
kind of like it. But I think if you're gonna do that, you have to understand like a lot of people do not want that. So you should do like you can do like a long form and then do like a 2 paragraph like TLDR.
That's
Like
always
if
the
you
best to me.
I'm a
you got to
big
go.
fan of TLDRs in a speech.
Yes,
Like
like
I will
give the
bold
people
certain
that want to want.
sentences. I will summarize.
Yes,
Give
Yeah.
them
You need
options. Yeah.
color code
yes,
things.
Yeah.
because some
I
people
make
are like me and want the
skimmable.
full thing, and some people just want that 2 paragraph, and you're appealing to both audiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
No, yeah, that's a great in between.
And if you're able to summarize your game in a concise way in like 2 paragraphs, I think that shows like strength of your game if you're able to highlight those
Yeah,
strengths in a quick little bit.
Yeah.
I feel
for
like
sure.
you need to like summarize your game. You don't need to summarize the game because I feel like a lot of people who have like
Yes.
super long, like a bunch
Yeah.
of paragraph things are just like telling you like what happened. Like I kind of saw that in Jason's a bit. He was just like saying what happened. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, but
Well,
like
that's
tell
because
us.
And Jason was
Jason
also
has
Jason
nothing
claiming,
to talk
Well,
about
yeah,
with
I was
his
I
gonna
own
know,
say
but
game.
just
Jason
pushing
didn't
things
have
that
a
he did
hand in
not
what
have any
happened.
claim to push. Like I got Jeff to do blah 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 blah. Jeff was like, I was nominating the twins with or without your input, Jason. What the fuck are you
Yeah,
talking
Jason
about?
Honest,
honestly had nothing to do with that. That's so
honestly,
funny.
Jason's entire speech could have been post battleback.
Yep,
And
Yeah.
it probably should
absolutely.
have.
He could have literally just been like, I was a social flop pre-battleback. I depended on the battleback. I used that mechanic to my advantage to survive up until that point. So I didn't care about my game before then. I willingly admit that I was not socially strong, but I won competitions that I needed to. I got to that battleback, and then as soon as I got to the battleback, I kicked things into high gear.
Yeah.
And
Like own
then
it.
he
Don't
could have
rewrite it.
started
I don't think
I
he
elaborating.
feel
did
like
himself
most
any
people don't care
favors.
about pre-jury. Like most
No.
Yeah.
people just do not
No.
give
They
a shit.
forget. Like
Unless
who remembers that?
unless you can point to like just pre-jury and orgs is mainly just like inactives. Like, ooh, we
Mhm.
got an inactive out. Congratulations. So unless you can like point to things specifically that were like pivotal to the game. Like my last Big Brother game I won, I literally flipped the week 1 vote against my
Same.
against my alliance's wishes. I flipped the week 1 vote and I literally said in my speech, like, I normally would never talk about week 1, but I firmly believe that week 1 set me up to get to
Yeah.
this path.
I've done
And
that
I
before.
think
that is the only reason like I brought up week 1.
Yeah, it needs to be
I
a
think
very good reason.
Jason also did do himself any favors by saying like, yeah, I expected to flop. I was fully banking on the battle back to begin with. Like telling that did not set himself out on a strong foot. And then later, towards the end of the jury phase, he was like, if you guys woke up
Oh,
earlier, I could
girl.
have been more social and
That was
and
crazy.
That
would
is
That
have
was
one
done
of
it
crazy.
earlier.
that is what, and I clocked as soon as he said that, I was like, that's the stupidest thing you could have said because
Jeff was like, Jackie
and then
was
and
like,
then and then the jury immediately was
and
like, what
Jackie
the
was like,
fuck?
I stayed up till 5 a.m. just to talk to Shelly. So what the fuck are you
Hmm.
talking about,
Yeah, it
Jason?
pissed
Yeah.
Shelly off too, because Shelly was like, yeah, I was awake that time because of my time zone, so like what the fuck? No, I
I
clocked
think he
that
was
immediately.
half joking, but like it was so not the time or
That's not a
place
Well,
joke
and
for
you
it.
can make
it was
right
also
there.
just like
No.
it was so out of nowhere because I think he was just like bored and waiting for more questions to come in and
Yeah.
wanted to talk. And
And
it's
he
like,
kept
no,
seeing
just be
votes come
quiet.
in when no one was talking, and it was like,
Yeah.
Sounds so
I
I
think
think he was
defeated.
yeah.
getting restless. Yeah.
But
That was
what
the
he
point where
essentially
he was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna lose. So
what
Well,
he
that
essentially
sounded defeated. Like,
what he essentially told the jury was like, I had a piss poor social game, but it was y'all's fault because y'all
No,
weren't
yeah,
awake.
literally.
yeah.
That was bad.
It
like
was
just throwing
as
things
soon as
at the
he said that, I
wall.
was like, oh
Yeah.
no.
yeah, it was rough.
He
Um,
literally said, I think I'm gonna get 2.5 votes. That's what I'm betting
yeah,
on.
he
I'm
said
like,
Jason
okay.
votes over under 2.5.
I'm like, okay, I don't know where the half vote's coming from,
That
but I
was
It's like
funny.
maybe
appreciate
if you guys fucking woke up, I would have been a better player. But
Yeah, that's crazy.
it.
Um,
And
and
because I do think he had other strengths in his speech and his
yeah,
questions.
no,
Like
absolutely.
he had people thinking about his game more critically than
Jeff
I
even
think they
said
were
Jason was
before.
winning the questioning and speeches for an early part before James like
Yeah.
kicked into it.
Well, I disagree. I think the reason that Jason was winning the questioning was because he was being softballed because everyone knew he was going to lose. And the jury just wanted to air out every single one of their grievances against James, like just like flat out.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That
was
is
kind of
that
a
is what
vent.
happened.
It was kind of a vent sesh because like even like Davon was like James, you pissed me off doing this and this and this and this and blah 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 blah. And then Jason, I'm not gonna vote for you. Sorry. Like
That literally.
one
Yeah,
and then
and that was funny.
announcements 1 out of 9.
Right.
Like
It was so fucking
Mine was
iconic.
asking me at some point. She was like, "How is the voting looking? Like, who's gonna win? Blah blah blah." And I was like, "I think this is really gonna be one of those games where the jury just needs to like vent and have a therapy session with James and
yeah.
just like
Yeah.
basically yell at him and beat him up and like murder him and then just like give him the win."
Yeah, and
Like,
as
yeah,
long
Yeah.
as James doesn't like have a breakdown and like cuss out
Yeah.
yeah,
all of the jurors, he'll probably be fine.
But
He
exactly.
Yeah.
he
I did really
he
think it was gonna end up like 6-3 because like Shelly was waffling in a
Yeah.
way. There
Jace
was
was
one
When I
other
super
saw
close
Shelly's
person.
reaction,
there.
I was like, "Ooh, she might actually flip."
Yeah. Jace was
I
like the
feel like
most
they,
bitter out of anyone on the jury.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I feel like they
Jason
were
was
bad bitter
more
jurors
than
because like a real bitter juror like doesn't care about like the real gameplay. They're
That's
just like,
right.
yeah, like
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
like
right.
that's
you're
true.
not getting my, I don't care like what game you play. Like this is something else. And I feel like Audrey and like Jace kind of had that, even though whatever Jace did what he did. But like I feel like a lot of the other ones were kind of like trying to make the argument, just like trying to pick apart the game, and it's just like that's not gonna really hold up when Jace like
Just
played
be bitter
not
or don't be
sorry
bitter.
James
Yeah.
James
Yeah.
played like such a
Well,
high
and
quality game. Like if you're
Jace
trying
even
to
said
justify
that.
it, then there's like an issue.
Yeah, Jace even said that in the reunion chat where because they were talking, and when his vote came out, he voted for James, even though he was like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna vote for
So
James. He's like
ganked.
Dern coded.
Yeah.
fake bitter
And but
jury.
it was like, I'm never gonna vote for James. And then someone was like, I thought you said you were never gonna vote for James. You were gonna vote for Jason. He responded, he's like, yeah, I tried, but that wasn't getting any traction. So I just
Yeah,
voted
I
for
said that. I
James.
said that too.
Typical
His voting
typical
speech,
He
he was
Jace
can't
like, I
even put
bullshit.
down
That
enough
is
wanted
votes
to
in the
vote
actually
for you.
jury.
that
Sorry,
is
come
that is
on.
literally Jace's vote strategy carrying into the jury
To a
portion. Wow.
T.
So funny.
Absolutely.
Both of, and then Audrey too with her hankies.
Yeah.
I love that. So,
Really
Audrey being
wild.
the hinky,
It was very
beautiful,
good.
beautiful.
Every
It
That
was
was
fucking
Hilarious.
time.
That
narratively
should have won the duo of the
gorgeous.
season.
Audrey thought
Audrey
because
and Hinky.
I talked to Audrey like right before the votes. It's like Saeed right before like the votes. I was like, who did you vote for? And they were like, I did, Jesus Christ, Jason. And they're like, yeah, like me. I told Jace like we're gonna be the only ones who did it. And then I was like,
Well,
he just fucking played you. Like
Well,
Wow.
Well,
Jace leaves
I
Audrey
mean,
high and dry again.
again.
And
even Jason, someone did a vote prediction.
yeah.
Or I think it was Goose. That Goose did a vote prediction, and he was like, he had it everything right except he put Jace as a Jason vote. And then
I would have thought
Jason's like
that.
voting speech is really funny. And I had to reveal it after I read the vote. He was like, I really wanted to vote for Jason, but you fought for it. Not sure how you'll decide to split the money, just split personality, but have fun. And I was just like, oh my God.
Wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He always
it's
is
like
too much.
the
it's just
thing.
it's Go ahead.
My favorite part, and Sydney, I'm gonna go ahead and then you can go after me because I think this is literally we're gonna be talking about the same thing. My favorite part of this entire final two sequence was Jay slash Devon finally just like doing her Devon thing that she'd been doing all season, which was like bucking up and taking control of a group of idiots and being
Love
like,
it so
what the
much.
fuck are you guys doing? We're rounding this shit up, we're getting it together. And Jay being like, you guys need to be so fucking for real. We are playing a Discord
Literally.
word game about lying to people. There's no emotional manipulation happening. Get off your high horses. Stop being fucking
That's
idiots
what
and
they.
dinguses and
It
like do
was,
what you have
yeah,
to do. It was bro. It was incredible. Like the
it was
fact that
beautiful.
Devon said that in the questioning chat was like, y'all get your shit together. Like, what are you
It,
doing? It was
Yeah.
it
so
was
good.
necessary. It was necessary. Like, it did remind me, it wasn't as bad. And, like, obviously it ended up being fine, but, like, it reminded me a little bit of Pixel, like, with all, like, the emotional manipulation. It's just, like, it's frustrating because, one, like, I feel like if I wish that they would have known, and like if we ever thought emotional manipulation was happening on any level, like we would intervene, like we wouldn't just let that slide. But also at the same time, it's like it's a game about lying. Like I'm not saying that everything James did was necessary to his game. Like he did sometimes like push deadlines and lie to people and it felt unnecessary. But he never emotionally they were just bitter. They were bitter
No,
that
Yeah.
yeah,
that they all
and
thought he was this dumb little player and he got one up on them and he got them out of the game and they took that to mean emotion. It's like no one made you do shit. Like it
He
was so
defied their
ridiculous.
expectations. They felt foolish. They blamed him. That's
Exactly.
what
well,
happened.
the issue people had in
Period.
terms of quote unquote emotional manipulation, the like James kind of like relying on people emotionally as he was kind of stabbing them in the
Yeah.
back a bit.
No,
Which I do
and
like.
and
The thing
yes,
is, like,
yeah.
it's a game of lying, and emotions are involved. So there, at the end of the day, everybody is a bit guilty of some level of emotional manipulation. It's just it was never on a problematic level,
They had
you
a really,
know?
No,
really great quote in her subs where she basically said, these people need to learn the difference between emotional manipulation and emotionally exhausting. And that's what
exactly.
it
Yeah.
was.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
also again,
And I think she said that in
they
the reunion chat
I think
too.
she did
She,
too.
yes, no,
I
yes.
love.
And it's just funny
Are
because
they?
again, they act like James like was apt like with like they were acting like all like James's therapist. Like they were lying to James all the fucking time. And
Yeah.
also feeding him
Yeah.
shit and pushing deadlines and trying to get one over on him. They just weren't successful because he had Jackie and they don't like that. But
And
if
they were just mad.
he could
Hmm.
turn around and honestly make a lot of the same arguments against them. Like probably not to the same degree, but honestly, a lot of what they were mad at him for, they would have had to justify if they made the final two because they were doing the same shit to him. Like they were
Yeah.
always like, "Oh, we need to go make sure James is okay and pat his hand." Meanwhile, the Glorbs are running the house, and it's like you're just mad that you weren't at the end of the day because he knew everything you were doing.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
I've been
and that's kind
talking
of
to Han.
like,
Oh,
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I've been talking to Han like postseason and everything about just like questioning and just all this. And one of the things she was saying was because I had mentioned specifically like I was gagged that she got Jace's vote. And she said,
Yeah,
I could tell that he needed to, like kind of have a little bit of extra attention and, like a little bit of ego stroking and everything, but also just mainly specifically make him realize that the only reason that I did betray him like that is because I knew he wasn't with me. Like it was
yeah,
his, like more or less, like love and light, it was his fault, you know?
it
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely
well, but
was.
because James's gameplay was born from the way that they treated him because James knew he was on the outside of a majority alliance running the game, and by nature, James had to play dumb. James had to play as if he were on the bottom when he really wasn't. Had to rely on people emotionally or whatever you want to say because in their perception of James, if James had been like every week been like it's fine, girl. Like we got this. Like I feel confident. Like I'm safe. Like then like they would have been like, wait, what? Why does James feel so comfortable? He shouldn't feel so comfortable. Like James,
mhm.
by nature of how they were playing, had to play from the position he did.
Yeah,
And he
absolutely.
It was
ate.
it was a beast of their own making.
Absolutely.
Literally.
Period.
Yeah, I remember early game actually, how frustrated James was about seeing like all the different alliance and hearing about all these different alliances that Jackie was getting into. And he's like, I'm good with all these people. Everyone keeps saying how much everyone likes me. Then why isn't anyone like inviting me to a fucking alliance? What's going on here? And I
Yeah.
remember like it was so fun. One of the funniest things to me was the dichotomy between James in subs and James in DR. And I remember at one point I put in like identity humor, how basically James was channeling his frustration and anger into sad country boy in public.
Yeah.
Because in private he'd be like, I just want to like, I'm going insane. I just like want to start a fight. I just don't know what to do. And then like in the diary room, I'd just be like, why does anybody want to be friends with me? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Oh
What
my God. And it was just
incarnation?
It
exactly. It was so
honestly,
funny.
it honestly reminded me a lot of Amber from 16, where we had some of the same quandaries. We were like, Amber's literally fine with everyone. She's basically player of the
Yeah.
seasoning right now. Everyone loves her. Why isn't she in a single fucking alliance with anybody?
Yeah.
It was like it was honestly, that's exactly what was happening with Amber in 16.
And
And
Not
because
also,
to the extent of
and
like
just,
sad cowboy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I just want to say notably too, anyone James, people that were actually loyal to James, James was loyal back to. James was completely loyal to Jackie. He was completely loyal to Shelly. Like if you showed him true loyalty and like were actually like being honest with him, like he was very loyal to those people in the game. Just none of
Yeah,
the
he's a
Glorps
very
except for
loyal
Jackie
player.
were. Jace wasn't loyal to
Mhm.
fucking anybody. Jace didn't even know what he was doing at the time.
Right.
and
Sorry.
I kind of assume based on Han's gameplay that she's probably a bit more used to being the Jackie of the season.
Yes, that is a very big thing that she
Yeah.
was talking about, how
Yeah.
this was
Yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
novel for her because she's always
Yeah,
used to being that sort of more
social
dominant
center.
player. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this was very, very weird for her. And she
Yeah.
talked about that a lot in her subs too, about, like she's not used to being perceived like this and being perceived as like
A
dumb
man.
or, a man. Oh, she's so frustrated at that. She's like, I'm never playing a man again. It was so annoying.
Yeah. Too real. Yeah, I wanted to
Well,
say I thought it was we were talking a little bit about it earlier. I thought it was funny, kind of all of the like jury members kind of were playing their part as they had in the season during the questioning. Jeff was like delusional and just saying things. Becky like wasn't there and like removed herself from the situation. Shelly came online and be like, why doesn't anyone want to answer my question?
Oh,
Liz just popped up and said like Liz on top and then left again.
Becky didn't
Uh,
even talk. Becky just
yeah,
voted.
Jace was just super bitter and then just voted with what the majority was doing, despite what he wanted to do. Meg kind of got to the right conclusion for the wrong reasons and was like, I think this is what I think is right, and you maybe may not think that, but this is what I think, so this is what I'm doing. And then Davon was like, "What the fuck is wrong with all of you people? We're making a logical decision here." And then Audrey threw a hanky vote and was the only vote for Jason to win. And then Jack was
Mother.
like, Illy James, and that was it. And that's pretty much what everyone was on this season. So I thought that was super funny. And then even Jason was like, I'm gonna put as much effort as I want into this, and if it doesn't happen, then fuck y'all. Like,
Well, that
It
was the other
didn't.
funny thing was everybody was complaining about Jason not talking the entire season, and then he fucking yaps his ass off at Final Tribal, and
yeah,
people are like, I don't want to read that.
yeah,
Didn't he copy and
Um,
pasted it into like a Word document? Because I was curious. I'm like, how many pages is this? Because it was just
yeah.
kind of like
I think
directly into
somebody said like
Discord.
9.
It was
17.
9 pages long. Yeah.
Jeff was
Jesus
talking about a
Christ.
17-page manifesto or something. And he was like,
I
maybe
think
it's
that was
glad Jason didn't
hyperbole.
talk.
Probably.
Yeah, maybe it's glad Jason didn't talk if he's gonna do shit like that.
But yes, after all the jury questioning and everything, all the votes do come in, and James does
James
indeed
on
win.
top.
Yeah, James on top.
Woo!
Uh,
Yay.
an 8-1 vote, with Audrey being the sole vote for Jason to win. At the
Let's give a
reunion,
big congratulations to James.
Ooh,
woo! We
another
love you,
woman winner.
Han.
Deserved.
Yeah,
Deserved.
Han is
Legend,
like
legend status.
Han is like genuinely one of the nicest people I think I've ever met over
Yeah, no, absolutely.
over
Hands
whatever.
incredible. I
Very
love
For
And
sweet.
we
sure.
have our fourth and or fifth woman winner, depending on how you count Winter Games. So
Oh, I
yay.
was like, is
Woo!
somebody transitioning? Like what?
Depending if you count Katie or not for reindeer games.
Yeah.
So But yes, we go through the superlatives. Davon won fan favorite, as she should.
Naturally.
Period.
Mother.
Period.
I'm so
Jackie.
glad
Woo!
that
Yes.
As
day
the
one fan faves,
as the
especially with
only sane
yeah,
person on the cast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
I loved
especially for
Jay so
Jay's
much
first
on this
AFC
season.
ever,
Yeah.
like Jay's first fan fave of
Yeah.
all time too,
That's
which is
crazy to
Oh,
me.
he deserved
yeah, because
it.
it's
He was
awesome.
so fucking funny. And just, yeah, the contrast between.
I guess I could see how his bluntness might be like off-putting to specs in certain environments, but I think like because
Here we're just fucking
this
assholes.
cast was so cracked,
No, it was so
this
refreshing.
It was
cast
very
exactly this
refreshing.
cast desperately needed the voice of Davon like to
I
be the voice
needed
of
Yeah,
it.
reason.
absolutely.
I needed it. Like I was like, yes, speak, please. Like I needed it
Yeah,
so
I
bad.
think like she
I'm
kind
hyper
of
for Audrey
spoke on the
though.
specs behalf at certain times where like
Absolutely.
Yes.
it
Absolutely.
was like
Yeah.
thank God somebody's saying it
Get
It
it
was
out
the
Who
across,
loud.
American
can
Ellie.
flair we
forget?
needed.
Who could forget Jace? I want to keep the twins. Davon. No, Jace. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Let
Literally. Literally.
it
Yeah.
was a stupid idea. I'm so sorry.
Yes, Jackie does also get player of the season, completely deserved.
Sure.
Jack
Very
going
Yeah,
back to
without
deserved.
a
back on
doubt,
bots
I
without
think
a
is
she
so
doubt.
ended with like
funny.
5 top billings of the week or something like that. So
Yeah,
absolutely deserved.
probably.
Mhm.
And she'll probably end with the most MVP points. I think even if all of us give like all of our points to the person in second, I think she'll still have the most. So absolutely deserved. Hero of the season came down to Audrey and Jackie, and Audrey won that as well. So
I
good.
was shocked.
That
Mother.
Yes.
was
I was
Very
very
insane.
good.
surprised.
That's
I'm
my
here for
hero.
villain.
Audrey is
He-
my hero, absolutely.
Hero and villain were really hard to decide
They
this
were
season
not
because there
there
wasn't
was no one
a
that was
clear
really one or
cut.
the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then villain came down to Davon and Jason, and Jason ended up winning that. I thought that was pretty fitting as well.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, that was all of our main
Those are the
awards.
important awards. I mean, Duo of the season went to the Outlaws. Duh. Alliance of
Obviously.
the season went to the Glorbs. Duh.
Duh.
Mhm.
Rivalry
Yeah.
went to the cast and not reading the goddamn motherfucking rules.
Hmm.
Worst move went to Jeff volunteering and Meg doing it.
Doing it. Yep. Deserved. Yeah,
Best side
absolutely.
So
Best
character.
move.
fitting.
Best move was Jason. Was the Outlaws being undercover and then Jason fucking missing the hell out of Jackie.
Yeah.
Also,
Shock.
the real best rivalry that was people was Audrey versus Meg. That was really funny.
He deserves.
Yeah.
I loved
Yeah.
the Audrey and Meg storyline, and then them
Me
finally coming
too.
together after
Them
Jace
having the same
died,
bestie and then
and then
hating each
them
other out
being
of
on the block
jealousy.
together at the end. And
Also, Audrey winning both side character and hero
And
is
hero.
something.
She's
Iconic.
not a side character. I could
I
not
mean,
believe
she's
she's a
not
side
going on the
character.
DVD cover, so I guess she is a song.
This season didn't have a side character. I voted
no,
Jason
I
for
don't really
side
think it did
character,
either.
and he made
I feel
final
like
two.
I feel
Side
like
character.
Austin should have won side character or something. Like
LOL.
No one was
side
voting for
character
Austin.
should
I'm
have been like
sorry.
Shelly or like
Like
Becky or
Liz.
something. Or
I could,
Liz.
I
You know what I
could,
mean? Like,
Liz.
I
Liz would have
Yeah.
been a great one, actually.
like
Yeah.
that's who
I
it should
voted
have
for
been.
Liz.
I
That's
think
who
I
I
also
I
voted
did
voted
for.
for
too.
Liz.
I also voted for Liz.
I don't know if Shelly
Read the
would have won if
votes.
she won side character.
Stop the count.
Where your vote?
Where your vote?
But yeah, I mean
I refuse to
the
believe
season
the
comes to a
never mind.
close with James taking the W. I will say I love that Han had to be the undercover theater nerd the whole season. And
I
Ooh.
It was
know.
driving her
That was
insane.
really
yeah,
funny.
probably like the most knowledgeable of the cast about all this theater stuff, and she couldn't tell anybody about it because she didn't want to spoil her identity. And then so her
It used
Except
to be like a
Jackie.
children's
Jackie knew.
theater
Yeah.
director. Like that used to be her job for a very long
Wow.
time.
So I think
Like
that's
That's
so
tough.
fun that she won the theater themed season. And yeah, she's just genuinely such a kind person. And I'm so proud of her just in general for winning, but also I'm so proud to like have her in the winner's circle. I think she's
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
such a
And-
good like face for the work to have and everything.
Fuck Jack.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
Jack, we love you. We
Look,
Look, Jack
love
has
you,
the
Jack.
traitors. Jack has the traitors. He's
That's
That's
true.
true. Jack has one
That's
off
true.
too.
But yes,
and I've been
No,
trying to
and-
get Han to, by the way, I've been trying to get Han to play Big Brother for like 2 to 3 goddamn years.
Well,
for
and
long enough
found out
that Jack has DMs
Jack
of him
recruited
That
her.
trying
was
to
so
recruit
funny. That was so fucking funny.
that's awesome.
and trying to recruit Shelly. Like we've been going back
Word.
for these shits for
That's so
fucking
funny.
ages.
I also love that the theater nerd won
as a character.
theatrically. Like she was playing
Yes.
a character.
Davon's
Hmm.
final like voting words about the method acting, how she like can't
Yes.
say
Actually,
she liked it, but it worked. I thought that was
is
brilliant.
is Hay our only other character kind of that won the
I
Yeah.
think
season?
so.
Because he played up like the cowboy aspect of Howie or whatever or
Yeah, he
something.
kind of dropped it after a while, honestly.
And
But
By the
Krista
end,
kinda
yeah.
yeah.
because Cole is just
Yeah.
unserious
Yes.
always,
Cole
but
was
I
just
would say that James is our most character like
yeah.
that we've had.
Because
Yeah.
by like Final Five, Howie went back to like all
Howie was
energetic and
just
was like,
fucking
I want to kill
neurotic and
myself, blah, blah, blah.
panicky.
Like,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
yeah.
can't blame him.
James kept it up
Because
the
same.
whole time. Also, such a unique winner just in like the whole secret duo of it all, the like second in
Hmm.
command. I feel like we
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
see that very often either.
Yeah, looking like all of our winners who were in pairs, none of them are really ever secret, really, except like I
No,
guess
I thought
Maria
that was so
or
interesting. I think
Rory.
probably the James and Jackie of it all was probably my favorite arc of the season as a whole, I would say.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There was like the James and Jackie of it all, the Audrey and Meg rivalry, the Audrey and Jace relationship was super fun to me. Jason's beast or twink mode cowboy, whatever. All of that.
Beast mode twink boy. Thank you
Beast
very
mode twink boy,
much.
absolutely. Yeah, it was where there were some definite lows and some definite highs on this.
Many lows. Many
But
lows.
I do still think I think it about evened out, and I do
It was a
still think
fun
that
season.
It
it was
provided.
fun. There
By
I
the end,
enjoyed
I
it.
was having a good time.
The
It was
people
the
at the
Yeah.
first
least,
season.
the people
It
were
was the first
insane.
season of
So
BBR I got to spec, and I was invested.
good.
Yay.
Did
Oh,
you like
So
it like
yay.
overall?
yeah,
How
it
did
was
you
really
like
good.
being a spec?
It was
Love
fun.
this game.
It honestly, it's really hard for me to like spec orgs, like, but this one was like easy. Probably because I'm just
Exactly.
like I enjoy like whatever, like the community and whatnot, and it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
fun to be here. But like yeah, it's like it's engaging and like the cast is like obviously high quality. So like at the end of the day, even if the gameplay is like here and there, like you're still gonna have like fun people and like some that you're like gonna root for.
Absolutely.
And
It
And
was a great
and
cast.
honestly, I think a make or break thing in server DMs are underrated.
Yeah.
Like
I love an
I
They're
think
in-server
I
DM.
think
needed.
they're okay.
They're
I was
needed.
okay. So I
it's so much more of a grasp of
in my most
everyone.
recent Survivor, I like I'm a DM dumper. Like I'll do a bunch post a bunch of screenshots, and the hosts didn't like it, and I'm like, do you not want me to like?
Do you not want
What
to know
was it
what's
they
going
didn't
on?
like?
Didn't like posting screenshots of DMs.
Why?
They would rather just me talk about it, and I was
Was it
usually
was
I
it like a one-on-one like in game or like DMs and
it was
like
off server
oh what the
DMs, and I'm
fuck?
like, yeah,
Were you
that's I was
just
like
dumping DMs and not giving any sort of commentary, or
sometimes because it
But
was
who
like
that I could
cares?
see?
it had the commentary in the
Yeah.
DMs, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
normally
But
like to like summarize what I'm doing.
I still won best professional. Uh,
Period. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
but yeah,
really
I
think
love in server DMs, and I think it makes it a lot easier to keep up with the game and
oh,
get more invested in the characters because you're getting invested in their relationships with each
yeah,
other.
And I think
absolutely.
BBR is a unique place for you to be able to use in-server DMs. And I noticed this in the difference between BBR and Pixel playing them. It felt a lot more natural and normal to open up the BBR DMs because of the alt, because you're not
Mm,
Yeah.
really going into as much of like personal shit as
yeah.
much as you are in like a normal game, maybe. You
Hmm.
know, it felt really awkward to open up some of my DMs like in Pixel, and I actually started yelling at specs when they would be like, "Open them." I'm like, "Fuck off, we're trauma dumping, leave me alone."
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, for sure. No, I think a lot of the people on this cast have great returnee upside in my mind. It was an amazing cast, and
hmm
Yeah.
thank you all for the season.
Yes.
One last time this season, everybody. It is time for our MVP points. We have 7 of them to dish out here with this full house of a pod. So whoever you feel out of James and Jason, I guess.
What
That
if we
The
want to
got
give
top
it to a
you.
three.
juror?
Okay.
What if a juror is an MVP?
I don't know about that,
Someone
but
just was really insightful.
okay.
I
I
vote
Were
will.
Devon for
they?
MVP. Forgetting
If
that
that's
shit.
Yes,
the case,
actually, Dave Vaughn for MVP.
I was just about to say, if that's the case, I'm going to give Dave my last MVP point again, and we'll just
Just
call it
give
a
expand
call.
her fucking lead. Why not?
Yeah.
I will go ahead and go first. I am more than happy to give my MVP point to James. I think he earned it across this whole season, playing such a stellar social second in command, non-threatening but consciously non-threatening still managed to win a few comps here and there when I don't even really think he needed them. Honestly, I don't think he was in danger the whole season, and then he came in and had a great performance in the final two. So James will absolutely be getting my MVP point for winning the season. Who's
Yeah.
next?
Yeah.
I can go next. I
Yeah.
can't see. Sorry, I can't see.
You go for it.
Thanks. I'm gonna do for my MVP point also James. Everything that Jackson said, but I'll also add on the fact that the only, like we said, the only real issue that James ever had in his gameplay was the fact that his jury management was really bad. And I wondered if that would affect his ability to win, even being against Jason. Not saying that's a knock to Jason, just like James, just like objectively speaking, had a resoundingly better game than Jason.
Yeah.
And the fact that that really had nothing, it didn't even impact anything. Like he managed to even get Jace's vote because Jace just like saw the writing in the sky and no one was listening to him. And good on them for not listening to him. But like it's like literally like the only issue in James's game was not an issue because he won 8-1 with the one being a hinky vote, like not even a real vote. So it's like,
Wow.
I mean, okay, we won't go, but yes, well, yes. Almost unanimous. And like that's saying something considering again, James did not manage his jury well, but he managed to come in and have a very, very strong performance at final two. His speech was great. He was great at answering questions. And also he allowed the jury to essentially just take it out on him for the entire time because he knew that was the way to win. And I don't even know if that's even really fair to him, but he knew that that was the way to win and he let them do it and he sat there and said the exact right things or didn't speak when he knew it was better if he didn't. And he won, so definitely deserves MVP for me.
Period.
Yeah,
I'll
I'm gonna give it to
I was just gonna go, Sean.
I'm gonna give it to James as well. A lot of reiterating what Sydney was saying. It's like you can talk shit on my jury management all you want, but sitting next to the right person, my jury management doesn't matter. So fuck you. Also, I really liked some insight that Alex provided talking with Han after the game. About how she kind of curated her Q&A to specific jurors, particularly Jace. I mean, Jace literally said in jury, he was like, "I'm voting for whoever compliments me the most," and
She fucking knew that.
picked
She clocked that so hard.
she picked up on that, and
So funny.
she did what she had to do, and she ate the season and she ate the finale.
And if she can just take that curating to the juries, to the goodbye messages,
Yes.
flawless.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, she picked up what she
She
lacked
got there.
earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's right. You were
when
next.
I was picking my MVP part, I thought we were talking about final three, not final two. And at this point, I'm sticking with it. I'm gonna say for final three, I'm giving it to Jason because that man gagged
Period.
Sure.
not once but
Come on,
twice,
Audrey. Come on,
winning
Audrey.
part winning part two and part three. I was gagged. I was pleasantly surprised. Like holy shit, he did it, and he slayed the player of the season.
No,
So
he
I'm gonna
did.
give Jason his flowers.
And
So everyone else
he fought hard in
in part
Q&A.
two, yeah.
Even if it
Yeah.
was a very uphill battle, he put
Just
He
in
like
a
I
ends that
gave to
solid
jury
effort.
Austin,
with
he
how well
put
he
up a
did, I think.
fight, even though it was a losing battle, and I can always appreciate a good fight, even if it's
Exactly.
I will slide in here because I also did the exact same thing because I thought we were talking about final three MVP because I was like, why would we give MVP points for final two? Because this person
exactly
won.
exactly.
So my MVP point is gonna go to Jason because I no one expected him to boss out the finale and he did. Even if he lost, I think they talked about it in the reunion. I don't really see a situation in where Jason wins this game ever from the battle back going onward, maybe against Audrey in a weird scenario where Audrey like has a breakdown, which could probably happen. Like nothing likely, but you know what I mean. But like that's probably the only win con that Jason had, and then once that was gone, it was over. So for him to boss up the finale and still walk up and make the runner up check, good for him. I mean, there's no check here, but like good for him. And so I will be giving Jason my actual MVP point.
Yeah.
Period.
I would like to give my MVP point to James. And one of the things I kind of want to highlight is something that I had mentioned in host chat, and then it was kind of pushed back on, and I agree with the pushing back. Basically, one of the things I said in host chat is like, we better give James his flowers because like we didn't give him enough MVP points. and I forget who it was. Someone was like, "No, all those other people really did earn those points. It's not like it was Shanks."
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's not like we robbed him of those. It was just that like other people were more like in your face or more like,
Yeah.
flashy with the moves that they were making and everything. But I think that giving James an MVP point here is appropriate, and not just because he won, but because it was like all of his more subtle moves throughout the game all culminated to this.
It
Yep.
caught
You
up with
know,
him and it
You
worked
don't you
out.
don't need to be player of the episode, baby. You need to be player of the game.
exactly,
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
You only have to
And
play the
so,
episode in final two, so and he did. So like
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that,
That's all you
he
need.
deserves the entire fucking bouquet, is for this final two, and just the game
it's
in general. And I don't know. I just want to give the
it's
MVP point there.
kind of like Amazing Race. The only leg you need to win is the last leg, so it doesn't fucking
Yeah,
matter. Like who
Yeah.
exactly.
cares?
Yeah, and it's like if James wasn't getting MVP points, it's just because he was not like the most visible, largest force that round, but he was always involved in the round and
And yet
involved
that
in
was on purpose that he wasn't the
yeah,
most
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
visible,
was
Exactly.
you
By
know?
by
that was an
So,
entire
design. By
part of the
mhm,
strategy.
design.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
which is why it's so great.
yeah,
For sure.
All right, I'll close this off then.
it is.
I'm gonna give my MVP point to James. They
Period.
played a terrific game, some S tier threat management.
Yeah.
I would say probably like some of the best. I can assume, regardless of knowing all the winners, I'm assuming that it's pretty high quality.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
up there.
in the episode itself, which is what the MVP point is for, they I give them credit, which I don't think anyone's really touched on yet, for like beating um beating wait, who did they beat in the second part? They beat Jason, yeah? Oh no, they
No,
beat
they
No,
James
they
won
Part
part
won
one.
part
one.
one.
part one. Beating Jackie and beating Jason in the first part, who were like two pretty dominant comp players, and then kind of putting Jackie into a weaker position in part two against the more dominant comp player, and then putting him in a position in part three where, regardless of who won, him or Jason, he was going to the final two where his dominant game got the shine. His jury speech was really engaging. It's usually hard for me as like a spectator to like read this entire thing that's like not it's not designed to like for me, it's designed for the jury.
He
But I
had a
was like,
funny
oh, like
speech.
he really made like a nice design to it. He like the theme was really cute. He touched on like the really important parts of his game. He obviously, despite all the things about a bad jury, he showed why he was the dominant player who deserved to win, regardless of emotional manipulation or whatever. So and so and so. Um. So yeah.
Period.
Period.
Right.
Congratulations, James.
Sydney, do
Absolutely.
you have our last top billing?
Yes.
Well, yes, I do.
Period.
And it's also James.
Oh my
Woo!
God, the winner.
I mean, like, I feel like there would have to be a crazy circumstance to give top billing of final two to the not winner.
Yeah.
And that's and then
Crazy.
there's not many races
Like
where I would
season
do that.
16. I'm kidding.
Oh my God.
Well, no, wait.
Not that
Hateful.
Thanks,
much.
Gabe
Not
I
that
Nicole.
much
can't.
of a
Anyway,
winner.
Yeah.
but I won't harp on it. But just James deserves it. I mean, he played an amazing game. And I think is this the first time where in like a really dominant duo, the person that was considered second in command made it and won? I
I
feel
would
like
think so.
I
I
think
think
Mm,
so, yeah.
that's pretty big. Like, I mean,
Off the
I,
dome, yes.
like honestly, like again, this is like personally, and part of it's because it's Jackie is Jack. But like when Jack made final three, I was like, Jack's got this. Like I didn't know about winning, but I was like, he's making final two. It was a done deal in my brain, and the fact that he got sniped out, and then his partner, who had an amazing game too. Like I mean, they were very equitable, I would say, in terms of where they could win. But the fact that James was able to make final two and then not only win with the issues he was going into it, but win like pretty almost unanimously is like it's just
yeah.
really impressive. So all the snaps to James and him.
I wanna push back against a phrase that has been said multiple times now on this podcast, second in command. Um, I think Jackie was the more visible and dominant player. I think James was very much still in the driver's seat. Jackie was in the power alliance and in the power structure, but James was it locked in step every step of the way. Um,
I wouldn't agree with that.
No,
I wouldn't.
I agree. I think that their duo was incredibly equitable as far as like their strategic moves and everything. And I think that that is one of the things that I loved about them so much. is that it wasn't like it was this power player kind of dragging along an extra vote. It
Yeah.
was a real back and forth dialogue conversation of strategy.
Yeah.
And that was just really, I love watching that.
To the to the
That's one of my favorite kind of gameplay styles.
to the point in reunion chat, Han was talking about like the Final Four decision, and Han was like, "Why is Jackie pitching me the bad move for her game? Like, why is Jackie convincing me to make the move I should be making
Yeah.
instead of what I was going to make to help her?"
It's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those like they were both extremely equitable and they were both taking turns in the driver's seat. It wasn't like one was really driving. Like
Yeah.
I don't agree that James was second in command, but I also don't agree that James was like driving the whole thing. Like James was
Yeah,
not driving
correct,
the whole
correct.
thing. But I
I
get
think
what you're
that
saying in terms of like it's a
yes.
very equitable back and
They were on a road trip, and
The
sometimes one would
car
take a
had
nap in
two
the
wheels.
passer seat
yeah,
and the other would,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
take
They're
over.
little
Give a
toy
high
kid
five,
cars where
tag
they had a
out for
wheel
a
on them. It
second.
was fun.
But
They had
I
both
would say
wheels.
the reason I mean, I agree. I think by end game, or even before that, by like mid jury, they were switching off, and maybe James was even taking the driver's seat more sometimes, beyond like the double when Jackie swept. But I would say for a large part of the early game, Jackie was really the biggest reason why James was so powerful, because without Jackie, he's not getting any of the information that he needed to play. So I think that's where maybe it comes from. Like, he was made powerful through Jackie, but then he utilized that power and used that to like correctly
Yeah.
propel himself. And so I think that's maybe where the
But
second in
he
command
also
comes in.
kept Jackie safe in for the destruction of the Glorbs,
Oh
I would
no.
argue.
That's what
But
I
he
mean.
didn't
Like
know about
Like,
later on in the game, like even like maybe early jury, like James it came into his own and had everything he needed. Honestly, maybe mostly without Jackie to get where he needed to get. But James would not have gotten to that position if not for Jackie feeding him everything that she decided to early on.
Yeah,
I
he
Because
I
he
didn't
wouldn't.
know
agree with
about the
that. I
glory.
agree with that. I always just consider both sides of that coin where Jackie or James wouldn't be getting fed that information if his social game weren't so good that
Oh no,
he had such
yeah.
a strong
Yeah.
relationship with Jackie.
No,
But
that's not a knock on James at all. But I just think
no,
that's
I
where
know I
like,
get what you
yeah,
mean. Yeah.
yeah,
Like no one leaked the glorbs to him between Jackie doing it and the round that they finally blew up. So if she didn't do it, he doesn't know for all of that time, assuming he
yes.
still makes it there and everything like that. Not to say, oh, James is bad, he didn't know, but just like
No, James
he
did
doesn't get
amazing.
that
Yeah,
leg up without Jackie, and Jackie doesn't give him that leg up if he's not already standing on his own 2 feet
exactly.
already.
Yeah,
unless he
yeah.
clocks it from his psychotic screenshotting of who is online at the same time.
I
That
don't think
didn't work. That
that
was
never
just
came to
insane.
anything.
Iconic.
No, I
Jason
Iconic.
don't
and
think
Liz are
it's
online. They might have a final two. Hold on,
look,
they're
I
not. They're
don't
not
think it's that
talking.
psychotic because that's how I caught Kaser and Angie and Shelly. So there is some merit to and that's how I figured out Zach and Carol were the actual duo and not the other way around. But I
Some merit, but
that one
it
was a
doesn't
little
apply to
too much, but
everybody.
like still.
Doesn't
Just
apply to people
because
like
it's
Jason.
correct doesn't mean it's not psychotic.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Like,
Well, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
org players are unwell. We know this.
for sure. Well, that wraps up our last MVP and top billing of the episode. Hearty congratulations to both James and Jason. They
Congrats.
both did the damn thing, and they made it all the way to the end, and they deserve praise for that, no matter what.
Wow.
It's
We
not
have
easy.
absolutely we have one last round of awards to announce and dish out as part of the whole theater of it all this season. Last episode, we of course had the nominees for Best Duo in Rewind's history. A little brief recap. In season 6, we had Janelle and Kaser. In season 7, we
Woo!
had both Julia and Lori and Lori and Elizabeth.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
in
You guys
11,
did both. Sorry,
Yes,
go.
yes, we
11,
did.
we
Keep
had
going.
Jen and Steven. In 14, we had Krista and Danielle. In 15, we had Isabel and Sombra. In 16, we had Emmanuel, aka Cody, and Jocasta, as well as Hayden
Iconic.
and Joey, and then Nicole and Cody, aka Emmanuel. And then from this season, we have Jackie and James, of course. I have tabulated and counted the results. You can call it recency bias or not, but the people have spoken, and
No.
Jackie and James were voted the best
No!
Oh,
duo in
Oh,
Rewind's
No!
history.
stop the count. Stop the steal.
It
Wait,
shouldn't be
who
the
was
women
One
in
where the
who was
current season has
play.
Who
won.
was
wait,
second?
who was second?
Second was a tie between both of Sydney's partnerships in Lori and Julia
I can accept
and Lori
that.
and
Recency
Elizabeth.
bias isn't
Oh,
real. I accept that.
Yeah,
We
and
love
then
it.
Nicole and Cody actually caught a few votes as well. They were
I
up there.
wonder
All I'll
why.
say is me and Julia
the
both made it to final two. I don't
And both
know.
got first and second. I fear that should be
Sure.
criteria.
But
Yeah.
yes, we decided moments before recording this pod that we were gonna do a little double dose of awards since it's the season finale. It's special. So we're going to be nominating both for most iconic fallen angels, so that third place fallen angel spot that Jackie so lovely filled this season, as well
Mhm.
as the best final two performance. Given that James had a pretty good performance for him. So I will go ahead and go first for my fallen angel. I personally want to nominate. Oh, who do I want to nominate? There's a
I
few.
just pulled up the list in podcast notes.
I know.
Uh,
There's a lot of good people to choose from. I think I am going to nominate from. I'm gonna nominate because I don't think anyone else will. I'm gonna nominate from season 12. I'm gonna nominate Hayden as the saboteur in season 12. I think largely and that's why both of them returned for second chances, obviously. A lot of my enjoyment from season 12 stemmed from Kathy, fan favorite, Robin, and then Hayden as the saboteur. And Hayden had this comp run down the end, and he was so close to making it. He was up like 3-0 or something in Jury Speaks, and it just collapsed from there. So I will nominate my little saboteur Hayden from season 12, along with James, of course, from this season for the or sorry, I got my
I was
category
like,
confused.
James.
James is not. No, I got my categories confused. I will nominate Hayden for Fallen Angel. And then for best final two performance, I personally want to nominate. Oh, I don't want to take other people's because I know other people are also going to be either talking about themselves or talking about things that are
Let's just do final three first, maybe.
okay.
Mayhaps.
Yeah, that's fine. So just for Fallen Angel, that is those are my nominees. So who would
Okay,
you
And
I'm
like?
going next. No, I'm going next before someone else steals mine.
I wasn't
I
gonna
don't
steal
trust
yours,
you.
but okay. I was not gonna steal it. Go ahead. Damn.
Okay. I'm doing Janelle from Six. Most beautiful fallen angel on the planet. Was Jeevan ever gonna make final two? No. Like honestly, realistically, no. But was the entire jury begging, doing blood sacrifices, praying? Because like listen, I loved Howie. I was happy to vote for Howie, but most of that jury was not wanting to vote for Howie. And we couldn't vote for Yvette because it's Yvette. So like that we only had so we just because if Jeevan had made it to final two, it probably would have been an unanimous vote for
Finale would
Jeevan.
have been done in an hour, bro. If you,
Like, maybe not unanimous. Like maybe James would have thrown him a vote. I don't know. But yeah, Jeevan, like he was the social powerhouse of that season. Like at such a S tier social player. Like was playing every side and playing everyone, and everyone knew it and didn't care and still wanted to work with him. And it was just unfortunate that Jeevan is a fucking comp flop and also was like overseas for some reason. So like his time zones were all fucked up and like he was never making it to final two.
he was on
But we
vacation or
all
something.
yeah, but we all believed in him. We all trusted him. We all wanted him to January 6th it and make it into the Capitol, and unfortunately, it just didn't
Jesus Christ.
He stopped at the gate,
Stop the
unfortunately.
My
steal.
turn.
Stop the
First,
The
steal!
steal.
okay, first question I have. Alex, did you intend on talking about yourself?
No.
No.
Sick of
Okay,
it.
then I will, because
Oh,
I feel it's only fitting since I did it.
Oh.
She has to be talked about. She's perhaps our best fallen angel.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
In the history of the Fallen Angels, we have the most, I would say, of the last three, the strongest of the three. No shade to Jackie and Audrey, but I fear it's the truth.
Damn, above Jackie?
Amber. Sorry, god
Oh,
damn.
I would
I
say
think
yes.
Oh,
I
for
Yes.
sure.
agree.
Thank you.
I agree.
Yeah,
Above Jackie,
no,
yes.
absolutely.
No
Yeah.
shade to Jackie.
Don't steal Amber from Emmanuel.
I'm not.
That's all.
I'm
That's the
talking.
only
Okay.
person I know. Don't say that.
I'm talking about Isabel.
Don't say that.
Isabel. Like enough said, she had me shaking in my boots the entire season to the point where I was
As
like,
she
yeah,
should.
I clocked it very early. I
Oh,
can't
wait,
take
would you
her.
say you were shaking in your boots? Were you cowardly?
Eat my fucking
Uh-huh.
ass. Anyways.
Oh,
He would like that.
Oh my
Oh my
god.
God.
That I was like,
Enough.
I can't. Like, this isn't gonna end well for me if I stay loyal and take it to final two. To the point where, like, I know that in my heart of hearts, I can't let her go before three, but I also can't let her go past three. So yeah, I wasn't the greatest ride or die. We know this, but I was always like, she's too good. Like I can't let this go on. Point where the jury was telling me and Blaze, hey, you can't let this go on. To the point where I made a fucking controversial plan with Blaze to be like, hey, we need to like lock her out so we can have a chance. She was that good that we tried to tried to box her out of even getting the chance to win in the first place.
And
You
she was
And
did.
that good
Blaze
that
Blaze
and
threw
it
to
was
me.
didn't
that,
fucking work.
and she was that good that your attempts didn't matter because she had
Blaze wrapped around her
Blaze so
feet.
missed it. Yeah.
But yes, obviously Isabel, our greatest to never win, I fear. Now that Katie has a technical win, it's Isabel. A da.
Speaking of Katie, I'm actually going to slide in here because Angie, I'm going to talk about Angie.
As you should.
Another one of our
Good.
famous, iconic fallen angels who quite literally only lost final three HOH because put the wrong amount of zeros.
Mhm.
You put
Um,
Oh.
she
Yeah.
put one extra zero on her guess on accident, and she lost
and
final three
changed her
HOH.
answer.
She changed her answer. Like it's literally that. I mean, she would have won by a landslide in 10 and against April or Ollie. Um, and so yeah, it was Katie, and she came back and won reindeer game rewindeer games. I don't think that technically counts, but
It counts
it
to
counts as a
It
me.
win.
counts.
It counts as a win, but in terms of like, you know what I mean, like best to never win, like final
Yeah,
three fallen angel contention, I don't think that applies here.
I agree.
But yeah, she is on our short list of best to never win, especially people that have played multiple times now. Because I
Yeah.
accidentally, or rather not accidentally, but kind of about 5 and 13. But anyway, yeah, but yeah, I just wanted to give Angie a shout out and highlight Katie,
Absolutely.
my legend.
We love you,
Love her.
Katie.
She's the best. Yeah, so love it. G.
Jerry?
I'll slide in here because you talked about 13. So I am going to mention Lawan. Lawan was just so, first of all, he survived almost being flung because Bram
Was
woke
half
up
awake,
and yeah,
half
was half
asleep.
awake when he voted, and like me and who was the other person Cassie got in on her like crackpot
Uh,
idea to
let me check.
Kaser was trying to throw a hinky vote and then didn't at the last minute.
Adam,
no, Kesar didn't, but
Amber
he
voted
almost
out
did.
Luan, Shelly voted out Luan, and Cassie voted out Luan, and Kaser almost voted out Luan,
Yeah,
but
Kaser.
didn't.
If Kaser decided to switch his vote, which he almost did, he would have flung Lawan.
So it was chaotic Shelly, chaotic Cassie, and sleepy Amber.
Yeah, it was just his game could have been fucked so early, but
He would
it
have won the battle.
wasn't.
That could have
And
been fine, but just yikes.
yeah, but like he was just so good at getting into like the different crafts and everything because he wasn't in. I feel like one of the central alliances of that game was I hate to have to say this, the sexy milk surfing and shit.
Right,
Um,
right.
he like so he was not in that alliance, but he was able to get in with Amber, who basically like created her own little like army to the side of when to break that alliance up because she clocked the trio of Shelly, Angie, and Kesar and knew that like she needed to basically murder us in order to, get to the end. And the two of them got together along with Adam and really were able to kind of like form their own little counter trio and just forge that path to the end. And they did it so well. And I also really have to tip my hat because it is one of the glorious things about BBR that we had a straight white man playing a woman playing a gay black man. And like, what the fuck? But like,
The
it made sense at
layers.
the time.
The
Like, it was
layers.
just
It all worked out. It all
Jake is
worked
So
out.
funny.
insane, but like, yeah. So,
Yes. We
but
love
Andy,
Jake so much. I
Yeah,
love
and
him
yeah,
also
so
I
much.
do want to say like Lawan is very similar to James for me too, in
mhm.
terms of like he had that kind of everyone kind of thought that Lawan was in their back pocket except me. Because we had kind of like a semi-equal partnership again. It's very similar. Another parallel to 13. It's very similar to that like Jackie and James situation. Lawan and I weren't as tight of a duo, but it was very similar. It was like an equitable partnership. We were talking back and forth constantly. I was the one on the inside of the major alliance, but he was out. In fact, Jack even talked about that in his subs. He didn't talk about it in his DR because he didn't want to like tip off people to knowing that he was Jack because he knew all this BB Rewind's lore. But he was talking about, oh, this is super similar to like Amber and the Wand, and like this is my Amber move. Like James is gonna be my like he was like talking about all that kind of stuff.
We
In
love
his
you, Jake.
yeah,
We
we
do
loved
love
it.
you, Jacob.
My king. I love him so much.
And you were right to cut him because he is great at pitching. He would have
Oh
eaten up
yeah.
that
Oh
questioning.
yeah.
That is
Absolutely.
why I cut
Yeah.
him. Another, yeah, that's
Hmm.
why I cut him at final three because his pitch was so good. I was like, I don't want to, I don't want to talk
Deal with
against
you.
When we
the
were in
final two.
15 and
So
I was trying to blow up pasta and I nominated Clem, he was like pitching his ass off. And I basically to myself said like, and this is why you need to fucking go because you are
Yep.
so good at pitching. You are not allowed to sniff endgame. Like you just
Yeah.
can't.
Absolutely.
From my season Be Rare 16, I will nominate Amber,
Ooh.
Mother.
who
He said,
had top top of the line threat control, was not perceived as a threat to the point that if I had won the tiebreaker question in the H2H, one tiebreaker away, Amber would have gone with me to the end and would have been a winner and would have been and was revered by the jury and was
Fake
loved
ass
by all.
Australian.
Yeah, just like so such such a masterclass in like how to play an under the radar game while also like obtaining so much information from so many different people and just having like such a good scope of what was happening at the game at the time and just being able to work with that to just like constantly put herself in like the best position possible. And it's one of my good friends to me who I've like known for like since I was like 15, 16, like on Twitter. And we've been playing
Aw.
like orgs together for quite some time.
Aw.
And like I've known them for so long and I didn't guess for like 1 second. Like she played up like her persona, like she built like an entire just like character out of that game and just like ran it flawlessly, like from start to finish.
Period.
So yeah.
We loved it.
I mean, member of our best final three of all time, Amber.
Yep.
Like
that was such
member
a
of all
strong
time.
final three.
Like
Oh
Jesus
my
Christ.
God, it was
Yeah.
crazy.
Sydney, start us off with our nominees for best final two performance.
Krista as a returnee coach in BB14.
Yep,
Come
that's the
on.
one. That's
Is
the
that not
one.
the one?
That's the
Because
one.
that's the one.
listen, it was so
Chocolate
crazy.
starfish.
Chocolate
Yeah.
starfish.
Exactly,
My God, that
exactly.
was so iconic.
Like listen, it's crazy how you have someone who's a two-time winner and everyone knows that like Krista obviously went into the game with that reputation. The fact that anybody even let her get that far was already absolutely psychotic and
Well.
insane. But the thing is, the jury didn't want to reward Krista for that. They did not want to do it. And like as much as Hazel had burned people all season, like I think people went into that wanting for her to win because they didn't want to vote for Krista. Like because Krista had played a pretty, I mean, listen, it's Cole. So like Cole's game was like essentially amazing, but Cole is very messy. Like Cole did a lot of shit that pissed people off. Like during the endurance competition, when he immediately just stole immunity like 20 minutes in and then copped out, people were so pissed at that. But again, Cole knew he had to win that immunity or else he probably was going to be on the block that week. And then when he vetoed Ashley, he pissed everybody off during that. But it's like Cole doesn't care. So he makes all these big moves, but he's able to just somehow convince people just to keep him in one more week and mitigate his threat level, even though they knew he was a two-time winner. And then he goes into final two, understanding that he has a hard case against Hazel, and he took Hazel to final two. He wanted the challenge. Like Hazel was pissed because there was actually like a controversy at part three where it was him and Hazel, and it was like a badly worded question where there could have been like more than one answer, but we didn't realize that. So Cole pointed it out to us because Hazel actually originally won part three under that question.
And was gonna evict him.
Yeah, and she was gonna evict him, and he knew that. And she didn't know that he was taking her no matter what. So she was pissed. But we were like, we have to redo the question because it's not
Yeah,
fair.
that was messy.
So then Jack made a new question on the spot, and Cole won, and then he still took Hazel. So it was all fine with Hazel. Like that's why we were like Hazel. Like in our brains, we're like Hazel. He's taking it no matter what. Like it actually doesn't matter because you're going to final two. So Cole manages to roach his way back into final two, and then he does just like a masterclass of spilling out the fact that he's like, yeah, like I wasn't as social. I'm really busy. I have a job, and I knew if I came in too social, people would view me as too much of a threat right off the bat because I came in as a two-time winner. So he played a very backseat game. He's the only coach who didn't vote to come back in. and people knew that. He told people that. So that was also another thing that he kind of had to explain away. I mean, there were so many holes in his game that he turned into like moves or things that actually impressed the jury against Hazel, who was a very strong contender like to be against. And he managed to fucking win and be a 3-time winner, which is just absolutely insane. Like it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, he ate that.
While we're talking about Cole, I want to talk about Julia in season 7 because really,
Queen.
if
Truly.
Laura fucking Dern had stuck to her guns, like you said,
Laura fucking Dern. Don't get me
Laura
started on
fucking
Laura
Dern.
Julia
fucking
should have
Dern.
lost, but Julia had such a strong performance against Sydney, who also had an amazing performance
I was about to say, I
I was
really
True.
gonna
in the
that
nom
kind
final
of,
Sydney
two.
alongside. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Too.
that it was
You
enough
just jumped
that
in, Swan.
despite, I guess, whatever hate fire spite bile that was inside of Laura Dern,
She was the
no,
blueprint for Jace. Wow.
truly,
No,
Oh
yeah.
my
no,
No
God.
matter
because
what,
the fact at least she stood on
Julia's,
business for her.
yeah, because of Julia's performance in the final two, she physically could not bring herself to vote
Yeah,
against Julia, and that was the winning vote for her. So, by all means, I
crazy
would love.
move.
I'll throw Julia in
Swan,
there.
what about your thoughts on Lori's final two?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I was rooting for Lori. She fought hard in that final two. Was that vote 5-4 or
Four
Four,
three.
three, yeah.
4-3?
4-3.
I mean, yeah, because it was a jury of 7. And deservedly so. She did a really good job, even though I think part of her wanted Cole to win anyway.
I think
Um,
I think most. I mean, I know you didn't want it, but I mean, like if anyone watched that season, it was hard to. If Cole made it to final two, which he did, it was hard to root against it. I mean,
Yeah.
It's
it's
telling
Cole.
that Cole got the first four jurors and Sydney got the last three, and that says everything it needs to say.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Boom just had a vendetta against me because he ghosted everybody. But then when I ghosted him back, he was like, "Lori ghosted me." It's like, bitch, you didn't talk. Sorry, love you, Boom, but
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
I'm gonna talk about our legend that's in this call currently, Cody Calafiore.
yes,
But I personally think that Cody's final two performance was incredible. I loved it. I loved watching it. It was we're up against a tough task. Like I said, our final three was tough task in terms of like the player. The performance was not that great. But
yeah,
our our
yes,
our final three of Amber, Nicole, and Cody was like our best final
stacked.
three of all time, like
Yeah,
hands down. And any three of you had a compelling case for a winner. Nicole did not compel her case enough, but it was like you managed, but a part of that too was Cody's ability in the final two to like control the narrative of how the game happened.
Hmm.
I don't think people do that enough in terms of like being able to actively shape how the game happened to what they want it to be. Because it's a tricky balance to follow of like this is how I perceive the game and the jury's comparing notes and you have to be careful not to take too much credit here or there, but it was literally perfect. And it
I think
completely
I
Nicole.
was able to maybe grab and like kind of form a narrative pretty early on that Nicole didn't really
Mhm.
seem to like push back on. Like once it was established, it was kind of just like established, and then she was defending that narrative of the game as opposed to maybe the narrative that was a bit more accurate, but obviously not the
Yeah.
one that I was going to push to try to win.
yeah, for
Yeah.
I
sure.
think
You
I
got
think
her
Yeah.
sidetracked, and
I
she
think
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
was just chasing that.
I
Yeah.
think you properly catered to the jurors and told them a story that they wanted to hear,
Right.
and you also
Yeah.
poked the holes in her game that you needed to poke,
Yeah.
and had her exact like you said more on the defense than she should have had to have been.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. She had
So
everything to lose, I feel, kind of like
yeah,
going in, and I had everything to kind of gain just in our like
yeah,
perceptions going into the game. And also like I knew that I had a lot of like work to make up just based on the fact that like I knew a lot of people would be critical of the fact that like Nicole was like kind of the more dominant force, what was like the more dominant force in our duo and kind of like allowed us to be in that position. So like it was gonna take a lot to kind of prove why I was more deserving than the person that kind of
hmm
guided us to that spot.
and it was cool because usually a lot of times when you get in a duo situation like that, people are afraid to like actually state their case and like make shots because they like the other person. But you ate that the fuck up. You didn't give a fuck. You did not give a fuck
I
about
think
Nicole's feelings at all.
you withholding that you would have taken Amber to the
yeah,
Amber.
end
Oh, that was so
fully
key.
after your speech and after Nicole had put in her speech, just for you to
Nicole
that.
asked, "Hey, were you gonna cut me?" And he was like,
No.
"No."
Like I want to get every single thing. I'm not playing 50 plus days to be like, like I love you so much. Like
Yes.
let's go
No,
crush this
And
and
we love that. We
Yeah,
needed
yeah.
enjoy
a
The
together.
exact energy we need.
it was
100%.
amazing.
yeah.
I loved it.
Eight.
I will
Okay.
go because I'm going to go for someone else in this chat. And
Okay.
I am covering in season 15 Shinx.
Also a great contender, great nominee.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We were talking a little bit earlier about like in the podcast about how one good thing about Jackie, kind of being evicted was that the jury was kind of forced to pay closer attention to both James and Jason's games and kind of give them more consideration than they would have if Jackie was in the finals. And I think that that also happened in 15 when Isabel left. Suddenly the jury was like, "Oh shit, okay, we actually have to like think about this and talk to like look at Sombra and Shinx's game." And I think Shinx really took advantage of that really, really well. He was very focused and made sure, like speaking of shaping narratives, of really making sure to shove the jury's face into the fact that Sombra would have taken Isabel. And basically
Which
going
was a
like,
good point.
it
And
was a
true.
good point. Yeah, it was a good point. I still didn't vote for him, but that's okay. Um, but no, it was a really, really good point. And I think it resonated a lot with the jury, as we saw from the votes. And I think that he also showed a lot of passion for like in the questioning. And that was one of the things I noticed in juries. They were like, "Oh shit, okay, yeah, he's like scrapping with Isabel now. I kind of like this. This is fun. Like, I wish I saw more of this shit like in the game." And I think that he just did a really, really good job of staying on task, like making the points he needed to make, drilling them into it, and just, getting the fucking job done.
I
Getting
also th
nasty, getting mean.
another big strength of his final performance was he was like, yeah, I comped out, but I comped out by design. I set myself up to comp out. Um I wanted Tiny Kong in the game. And I wanted to be able to like guarantee that I made final six because I knew if I was
Yeah.
in final six, I could compete in a comp every week.
Mhm.
I had Tiny Kong ahead of me as the bigger comp threat that y'all were all gunning for. And then by the time Tiny Kong was out, you couldn't backdoor me.
Yeah.
So
When you have
yeah,
two
yes, I
compies
comped
at
out.
7, you'd have to like pick between the two of them, and we
It's
picked
yeah,
Tiny.
it's like
Yeah.
it's like yes, I comped out, but y'all let me comp out. So
Hmm.
period.
Yep.
We sure
Especially
did.
because, like, not to like, I guess not like it's a little bit metagamey, but like people found out about within 3 weeks that Shinx was Shinx, and anyone
Yeah.
knows who Shinx is knows that Shinx not only runs the org but is just a compies. Period. So it's not like people didn't have that knowledge from very early on in the game, but
Yeah.
they let him stay exactly. And then he's like, "Well, you let me. You knew exactly who I was by some point before jury, and you still let me stay around and took out bigger threats to me. And by the time you wanted to get me out, you couldn't. And that's on you." And that was
Yep.
perfectly legitimate and correct.
To be fair, we also all knew Tiny Kong was Hazel too, because she plays in a glass closet.
Well,
So like,
yes. Well,
Well,
yes.
yes.
That was annoying because I wanted to pretend to be Hazel, and I'm like, I can't. She made it too fucking obvious.
so
The fact
obvious.
that you even thought that was a
Yeah, why would you
possibility
want
is
to pretend
crazy.
to be Hazel?
Also,
Because it
like
was
you can't.
funny.
It's Hazel. Hazel never pretends to be anyone but Hazel. You could clock Hazel from like 10 miles away. She's like the most visible
Al-
person on the planet.
Also, why would you want to pretend to be somebody who is an active target in every org she plays?
Because I thought it'd be funny, honestly.
For the
Also, and
same
you're not
reason he
confront.
chose to play as himself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It
right.
yeah.
was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going to talk about Graham, the other person in this call.
Oh,
Because
yes.
Yeah.
I remember season 13's finale. I was like, dang, Amber's kind of eating this shit up. And like, it was around this time where we knew 15 was going to become second chance. And we had a very strong idea that I was probably going to play it. So I was like, wow, I'm gonna have to like take some notes on what Amber's doing because she's fucking cooking right now.
That's right.
And her speech was really good. Her questioning was really good. And not to say that like Dominic was flopping or anything, but Dominic was already coming from an uphill battle, being a battle backer and everything. And if y'all,
Similar to
not
this
to say,
season.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
very,
not to
very the
say,
Jason of it all. Yeah.
not to say anything bad on Harmel, but if Joshua and Chelsea were not bitter, it was going to be unanimous. And that's not a knock on Harmel, that's just a plus on Graham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just a
Yeah.
very strong performance throughout, to the fact that it was like, if Edvin and Brody, I love you guys. You guys are annoying. You're fucking annoying. We all know that you guys are annoying. And it's just like,
Extremely.
if you
Right,
guys weren't
right.
annoying, Graham would have been unanimous. And
I love them.
worthy.
Yes.
But I love both of them. It's just like, come on, you know this. And yeah,
Yeah.
Graham, the questions, they were just fun. Both, honestly, both put up very strong performances. So hell, I'll nominate both of them. But Graham won, so like he takes the cake, obviously. But
Mhm.
yeah, Dominic and Amber both were very strong. And Amber's entire game was just like, go. Like I was, it was almost living vicariously through Amber, and I was like, yes, go ahead, because I feel sort of responsible for him losing 8, because it was kind of my fault with the time zone shit. So it was just nice to see it all go full circle for Graham. And it was
Cool.
just like, yay, Graham,
Yeah,
and it all just,
that's funny.
yeah.
Well, cool.
That
If
is
anyone,
very fun.
Can I super quickly
yeah.
insert when Shanks was talking about like annoying jurors and everything and like kinky votes? I can't believe I forgot to mention Sunflower voting for Sombra with
Oh
the
my
little
God.
note about Tiny Kong as being annoying in Ponderosa. Like that
Yeah.
was the only reason why
I
he
didn't
voted.
win. I don't think I won yet by that point when that vote got. No, he was the last one. What order did y'all read the votes in? I don't remember. Either way, when I saw that,
No, who cares?
I think I was losing. I think we didn't know yet. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna fucking lose. Cause I was like, if that was the last vote
Because Hazel was
or near
pushing
the
so
last
hard that you
votes,
should
Yeah.
win.
I was
Yeah.
going to kill. Liam said that wasn't the real reason. He just wanted to fucking scare me. But I'm like, that's so fucked up. I've been in the trenches
I
all
missed
day.
that season. Bring
So
me
funny.
back, bro.
15
I
was
want
Great
to go
crazy.
season.
So
back.
I
good.
forgot
So
to mention that. I had to mention that. I'm sorry. So go
All
on.
right. That's just gonna wrap us up for this season. It's been a lovely ride. Thank you so much to all of my lovely hosts that have been here for this whole journey with us. An extra special thank you for Emmanuel for
And
closing
happy
the
birthday.
season.
Happy
Yes,
Birthday,
happy
birthday
birthday.
again.
Hey.
And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. I know we have a couple off-season pods planned, so we'll get those, and then
Got
if not
Avatar
then,
18 coming along.
yeah,
Got
we'll
our
catch
first
y'all for
Knights
Yes.
and
season
All-Star
18.
Wars down the pipeline. Like
Period.
we're booked
Period.
and busy for the next 5 seasons or so. Yeah, five.
Something like that. Yeah. We'll see you guys all then. Thank you again. And
Work.
everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye.